Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Copying Natural Treasures, Cultivating Immortality is Not Difficult. Chapter 41. Daewon, Kango. Is this the world outside Kenyan? Lu Lin's eyes flashed, and then he picked up the first, Da Yuan 2G, and started reading. Then the first paragraph at the beginning of it. It directly gave him a great impact and shock. Since more than 13,000 years ago, the great Yuan emperor established Kango and suppressed hundreds of ethnic groups. It has ushered in the glorious and prosperous age of the great Yuan dynasty for more than 10,000 years. 13,000 years ago, the emperor of the Yuan dynasty established a tripod in Kango and suppressed hundreds of ethnic groups. So cowhide. Lu Lin's scalp felt numb. But I continued to read patiently. The original version of Daewon 2G does not have many words. There were only 2 or 3 pages, but even so, Lu Lin read very slowly. After about 1 stick of incense had passed, he slowly exhaled. At the same time, put down the Daewon Picture Chronicles. Some were taken aback and their faces were full of shock. It turns out that this so-called Yuan dynasty, it is the first dynasty of hundreds of tribes and countries in Kango. It turns out that the so-called Great Yuan Emperor is the first powerful man in Kango to transcend the nascent soul realm and ascend to the divine realm in more than 10,000 years. Since then, the Yuan dynasty completely soared into the sky, climbing to the top of Kango, prospering for thousands of years, until now. And now, they are still the first dynasty that has been discontinued, and any other major forces in Kango should be worth mentioning in front of them. It's not on the same level as them at all. As the first dynasty of Kango so awesome. Lu Lin murmured. Then I picked up the brief language of Kango on the other side and looked at it. Compared with the Great Yuan Picture Chronicles, brief language of Kango has significantly more words, about 10 pages. This time, Lu Lin still looked very slowly, until a few hours later. He slowly put down the Kango Brief U in his hand. At the same time, he also had this so-called Kango in his heart. Now that I have some general understanding, Kango is one of the 14 continents of Tianluo continent. Although it does not introduce in depth what the so-called Tianluo continent is, it actually explains something. Tianluo continent, he should be Kango's superior being. In addition, Kango has a huge area and is known as 100 races and 100 countries, but in fact it has far exceeded this number. Looking at the entire Kango, the number of large and small ethnic countries has already reached thousands. This number is at least dozens of times that of the entire Kenyan. You can imagine what this concept is. And in Kango, home to hundreds of tribes and countries. Especially the first dynasty, the Yuan dynasty. The Yuan dynasty was located in the northeast of Kango and dominated the entire Kango. Exceeding 3/10 of its territory, it is the well-deserved number 1 behemoth. In addition, more than 60% of Kango's territory is divided and occupied by other large and small forces, countries, and races. A fragmented and chaotic situation formed. Therefore, the current situation in Kango should be that the southwest, west, and south are weak, while the northeast where the Yuan dynasty is located, and the north and east radiating around it are stronger. But having said that, even though it is south of Kango, which is relatively weak, but it is still much more powerful than Kenyan here. And if nothing else, the blood spirit sect that was kicked out of Kenyan went to the border area south of Kango. Because the border area is outside Kenyan north. In fact, it is already very close to the south of Kango. It almost only requires the buffer zone of a few small countries. You can reach the south of Kango. Kango. Lu Lin murmured. He didn't know it before and didn't feel it at all. He just felt that the whole Kenyan was already a very large and good place. However, now it seems that he is still a bit of a frog in the well. I didn't expect to be so close. There is actually such a huge behemoth. Compared with the huge Kango, their Kenyan is just like the countryside. Not worth mentioning at all. Not on the same level. Then, such an idea suddenly emerged in his heart. Why don't you just go and have a look? Anyway, his mission period is not over yet, and it is difficult to explain when he returns to Wulong Gate. It is still a troublesome thing, so why not just go out and look around? And the second half of this book, Kango Simplified Chinese. It also focused on the countries south of Kango in detail. There are even some rough map paintings, So if nothing else, this thing should be the product of those countries south of Kango, or the product of ethnic forces. In this case, he can also cross the border line. Go and have a look over there. And more importantly, after he goes to Kango, even if those people in his heart want revenge, they will probably not look at you and think that he actually went to Kango, right? And in addition, there are other benefits of going to Kango. That is, it is definitely much easier to buy the natural materials and earthly treasures needed to feed the 5 dragon souls there. Even spiritual materials with several other attributes, golden elixir level heavenly materials and earthly treasures. Maybe there will be a chance. And also, that is the recipe for the foundation building elixir. Given his current situation, the next step is to build the foundation, but the problem is that building the foundation is not easy. Under normal circumstances, for a few years or even decades, that is normal and of course. But he couldn't wait that long. So of course he can only use the old method. That is Krypton gold, Krypton pill. The elixir tube is full. Just building the foundation is definitely something you can do with your hands. No difficulty. But this foundation building elixir is definitely not easy to buy here in Kenyan North. After all, forget about the finished pill, just sell it. There are so many people, there are only 1 or 2 more foundation building monks, but the pill recipe is different, the pill recipe is top secret. That would definitely be difficult to spread. So relatively speaking, it might be easier in Kango. What's a better chance? When I think of this, Lu Lin made a decision immediately. Done, let's go take a look. He decided to go directly to Kango to have a look. But before that, I have to upgrade my 5 dragon spirits to a higher level first. Then, Lu Lin started to practice in seclusion on the spot. The 2 days of fighting clearly made him discover a problem. That is, compared to the rough and rigid way of controlling the best magic weapon through the exorcism technique, his magic power, 5 dragon transformations, is obviously more comfortable and smoother. But in terms of power, the power of Wulongzuan is still a bit inferior, even worse than the weakest Baihui sword. So he must first eliminate this weakness. Give it a lift. And in this way, from now on, he can eliminate the redundant Baihui sword, Zephyr Dragon flag, and focus on using the Green Toad Mother shield, the Purple Sun Thunder Fire shield, and the 5 dragon spin. He didn't understand before, now he understands that greed for more is never enough. Regarding his current situation, more is not a good thing, it is better to strive for excellence. Just focus on crushing one single event. For the rest of the time, it passed quickly. Half a month has not come yet. Lu Lin, who is in seclusion to cultivate the 5 dragon souls. It was already a surprising success. I didn't expect it to go so smoothly. If I had known this was the case, I shouldn't have foolishly delayed using the 5 spirit pills for so long. I could have just bought some heavenly materials and earthly treasures with 5 elements attributes. Feel the golden soul in your body. It has been successfully upgraded to the gray level. Lu Lin suddenly laughed angrily. He also murmured somewhat speechlessly. It turned out that with the nourishment of Black Iron Golden Soul, it only took him less than half a month. He raised the Golden Soul, one of the 5 dragon souls in his body, to the 2nd gray level. What is this concept? Doesn't this mean that during his time in the past few years, is it a complete waste of money? But it should be the Dark Iron Golden Soul that has such an effect. It is worthy of being a spiritual material of the Golden Elixir realm. This is really awesome. Lu Lin sighed with emotion, and then took out the dead wood branches and honeycomb stones. After some copying, he started a new round of breakthrough training. As expected, this time's improvement breakthrough was obviously much slower than the Black Iron Golden Soul. It took more than 4 months for Lu Lin to use the Wood Soul and Earth Soul in his body. Successfully pushed to the 2nd level of Gray level. Then he started experimenting. Although there are still 2 Fire Souls and Water Souls that have not been promoted to the 2nd Gray level, he now also needs to know how far his current 5 dragon transformation power can reach. The so-called knowing yourself and the enemy. Kango is a bigger place. The overall strength is also much more powerful. So it's better to be more prepared and more cautious. There's absolutely no harm in doing this. It didn't take long for him to figure out how powerful his current magical power, 5 dragon transformations, was. The 5 dragon transformations are offensive magical powers, but in terms of attack power alone, he seems to be close to the power of the purple sun thunder fire barrier. Is this thing so powerful? Lu Lin was a little unbelievable. You must know that after successfully killing the Foundation Establishment Realm vampire, the gold content of the purple sun thunder fire barrier has skyrocketed in his heart, but what about now? The power of the 5 dragon transformation of the half-step gray level 5 dragon soul. It is actually close to the attack power of Ziyang thunder fire barrier. This is undoubtedly an exaggeration. You must know that no matter what, this is a half-step gray level, not even the second level. So if it completes the other 2 fire souls and water souls, and completely enters the second gray level, how powerful will it be? Wouldn't it be comparable to foundation building? It's so fierce. Is this thing so awesome? Lu Lin laughed a little. Although he had already overestimated the value of the 5 spirit transport technique before, he did not expect that he still underestimated it now. Now it seems that this thing should definitely be the top foundation building realm cultivation technique. If it weren't for the difficulty of practicing it. If the conditions and requirements are also very abnormal. I'm afraid this thing won't fall into his hands at all. So, it's really good luck, but yes, if he is not lucky, who is lucky? Don't forget that he is cheating. This is the real ultimate luck that defies heaven. Okay, next we can go to Kango. Next, let's start with the treasures of heaven and earth. Complete the gray levels of water soul and fire soul first, and then the foundation building elixir formula. Come on, set off. Lu Lin cheered himself up loudly. Then he got up and left this place. Heading towards the northern border, I quickly touched it. After half a year, Lu Lin finally passed through the northern border of Kenyan and the buffer zones of several small countries, and successfully arrived at the area south of Kango. This is the first country he came to Kango, called the Cheki country. Relatively speaking, this should be regarded as an extremely inconspicuous small country in Kango, but in terms of overall strength. But he could obviously find it. The overall strength of the monks he met by chance along the way was so valuable. It is indeed much higher than Kenyan Bay. Not only are monks in the middle and late stages of Qi training almost everywhere. Even the 11th heaven and the 12 heavens of Dzogchen. Even the strong foundation building monks. It's not uncommon here either. At least he did see several of them along the way. It's just that he always avoided it a little bit when he saw it. He didn't provoke the other party. After all, his goal is just to become stronger and improve his strength, and since he is new here, everything is unfamiliar, so it is best to hide and keep a low profile. On this day, in an inconspicuous small town in the Chi Kingdom, Lu Lin ordered a pot of sake and sat alone on the side to drink. Between his eyebrows, there were even some tangled and depressed expressions. Obviously, it's because he's in trouble. Hey, I didn't expect that buying a treasure of the foundation building realm would be so troublesome. Isn't it said that the overall strength of Kango is much higher than our Qingyanbei? Why is it still like this? Hey. Really a bad review. He sighed, obviously very depressed. It turned out that this was because after he came to the Cheki kingdom, he had already started trying to buy treasures of the water and fire attributes. However, what he didn't expect was, no one actually sold it to him. That's right, it's not that there are none, but that they won't sell. This is annoying, but think about it carefully, this is quite normal. After all, although this is Kango, it is just an inconspicuous small country, and here, anything in the foundation building realm is also a very important strategic resource. And what about him, Lu Lin? A stranger who no one knows, wants to buy treasures of the foundation building realm right away. Who would sell it to him? That would definitely be impossible. This is called monopoly, also called risk avoidance. After all, who knows who you are? If it is bought by the enemy, wouldn't it be a loss? That's why others don't sell it at all. The worst thing is that even the natural treasures of the foundation building realm are so hard to buy. What about the recipe of the foundation building elixir? Isn't that even more troublesome? Lu Lin felt depressed. However, just when he was feeling depressed about this, he, who was very sharp-eared, suddenly heard the sound of talking and laughing coming from the private room next door, and among them, there were even a few words related to cultivation, such as auction and foundation building cultivator. Auctions. Lu Lin's eyes suddenly lit up. Some hearts are beating. Is this an opportunity? But he was a little confused. Relatively speaking, he was still a little afraid of strangers. Just running over and talking to some strangers to find a relationship. Let's not talk about dangerous things, let's just say that this behavior itself is really a big challenge for him. But the opportunity comes. Such good luck, so missed. He was still a little unwilling. So he simply gritted his teeth, then asked the waiter to bring him 2 pots of the store's treasured wine, then brought it over himself and knocked on the door opposite. In the elegant room in front of me, there were 2 middle-aged and old men who looked about 40 or 50 years old, talking and laughing happily. One of them is wearing a white robe and looks quite elegant, with the demeanor of a scholar, while the other one looks a bit rough, wearing coarse linen clothes and with his hair disheveled. But look carefully, that should be a defensive weapon, exuding a fairly decent Ling Yun brilliance. In addition, these 2 people seem to be monks at the 11th level of Qi training, with good strength. At this time, seeing Lu Lin suddenly knocking on the door and walking in, the 2 of them were stunned for a moment, and then their faces immediately darkened. Scold, who are you? Do you want to die? Get out. You 2, please be patient and don't misunderstand me. Lu Lin smiled, and at the same time exuded his own Dzogchen 12 heavenly spiritual energy waves, and said with a smile. I'm in Sha Lulin. I just joined the Riding Kingdom and I'm not very familiar with the situation here. But I just heard the 2 of them mention the auction, so I took the liberty to come and disturb you. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. 12 heavenly Dzogchen. Perhaps the sense of oppression from the realm of cultivation played a role. The 2 people looked at each other, then they both stood up and cupped their hands towards Lu Lin, saying, "It turns out to be fellow Taoist Lu Lin. Hello, you're welcome. Let's sit down and talk first." "Thank you." Lu Lin took advantage of the situation and sat down. At the same time, the scholar, the man in white robe, also spoke again. He looked at Lu Lin and said with a smile, "My Excellency, Li Wenhua, comes from the Li family of Xingyan Academy. This is fellow Taoist Lu Xuanlong Lu, from the Shuangyan Society. Speaking of which, it's quite a coincidence that the 2 of them actually have the same surname. Ha ha ha, they seem to be from the same family, right?" "Yes, it is indeed a coincidence." Lu Lin smiled and nodded, then said hello. "Hello, Brother Li, hello, Brother Lu." Li Wenhua nodded and asked curiously, "Brother Lu, are you not from our riding country?" "Yes." Lu Lin nodded and said softly, "To tell you the truth, I'm from the East. I've traveled around and gained a lot of experience. By the way, let's see if I can find an opportunity to break through to the realm of foundation building." East. Suddenly Li Wenhua and Lu Xuanlong were a little surprised. Because for people like them in Kango, the east direction has great special significance. Hee. Lu Lin smiled and said nothing more. After all, it's just a fox pretending to be a tiger and wearing a layer of skin. So it's definitely better not to say that there are too many mistakes. Then he asked again, "2 fellow Taoists, I heard you mention the auction just now. To be honest with you, I am looking for some fire and water attributed treasures of heaven and earth. But I have been looking for some Chamber of Commerce stores one after another, hey. They didn't even sell it to me." Of course, Lu Xuanlong smiled and explained. Everyone has rules. If you don't know the basics, under normal circumstances, things in the foundation building realm are strategic treasures and will not be sold to any stranger. At this point he paused. Then he squinted his eyes at Lu Lin and said, "It seems that fellow Taoist is planning to let us take you to the auction at Langkang Mountain." The words fell. Lu Lin silently took out 2 pill bottles from the storage bag and placed them in front of Li Wenhua and Lu Xuanlong respectively. "Both of you, there are 20 purple jade pills in each of them. Be careful and disrespectful." To be honest, he didn't know what the other party meant either. But it doesn't matter if you don't know. Just throw it at me with money. The other party is only at the 11th level of Qi training. Therefore, purple jade pill must be very attractive and useful to them. For him, things that can be destroyed with money and pills. That's nothing. Purple jade pill. Li Wenhua and Lu Xuanlong looked at each other. They were all a little surprised. Purple jade pill is a general Qi training realm pill. It is widely circulated, so of course they are no strangers to it, but Lu Lin's handiwork is indeed quite good. After all, there are 20 purple jade pills, which is 40 for 2 people. This is not a small number anymore. Then they all fell silent. The next thing I saw was Lu Xuanlong taking away the purple jade elixir bottle on the table and saying with a smile, "Since Brother Lu is actually sincere, of course we won't give up the auction at Langkang Mountain. You just come with us." Hearing the words and seeing the situation, Li Wenhua didn't say much. He just smiled bitterly and talked about the other bottle of purple jade elixir. But then he smiled and said, "Brother Lu is new to our Cheki country, so he is not very familiar with the Langkang Mountain auction. In this case, let me introduce it to you." "Thank you, Brother Li." Lu Lin immediately bowed and said, "I would like to hear more. Come, drink." Li Wenhua picked up the wine glass and drank it all. Gurgle. Then he smiled and explained, "Langkang Mountain is the territory of the foundation building master Langkang. His strength is naturally very strong. He is a mid-stage foundation building master, so most forces will give him face. He will not run wild in the territory of Langkang Mountain. As for the Langkang Mountain auction we mentioned, it is led by Langkang Master. At the same time, it is also in conjunction with the Golden Silkworm Association, and they jointly hold a high-end auction. Since 100 years ago, the Langkang Mountain auction has only been held once every 10 years. The scale is grand, however. It adopts an invitation mechanism. Under normal circumstances, only the well-known foundation building sect forces in our Cheki country are eligible to be invited. So that's the case. Lu Lin was surprised. Then he bowed to the two again. "Thank you very much, thank you." "That's not the case." Li Wenhua smiled and explained. "That being said, the threshold for the Langkang Mountain auction is not that strict. Even many forces will sell things if they don't need to go to the auction house to buy them." "So?" Li Wenhua nodded. Then he said jokingly, "So you have already paid for your ticket. In the end, we should still make a profit." But at this moment, Lu Xuanlong suddenly spoke up. "But Brother Lu, you came at the right time this time. It is said that the Golden Silkworm Association has prepared 3 foundation building pills for auction at this Langkang Mountain auction. If you can compete with those people, you may become a foundation building expert." Foundation building pill. Lu Lin was surprised. "Yes, it is the foundation building pill." Lu Xuanlong nodded and said with narrowed eyes, "Everyone knows that the foundation building pill is very special. There are not many forces that can refine it, and even fewer that are willing to sell it. But this Golden Silkworm Association is one of them. Is this Golden Silkworm Association very powerful?" Lu Lin couldn't help asking. "Of course," Lu Xuanlong said without hesitation. Then he laughed and asked back, "Brother Lu, have you heard of the Blood Spirit Sect?" Blood Spirit Sect. Lu Lin's expression suddenly became stern, and then he nodded slightly and said, "I know a little bit. It is said that this seems to be a giant in the Jindan realm." "Yes." Lu Xuanlong nodded and said with a smile. The Blood Spirit Sect was once the dominant force in the Kenyan area in the north, but later it seemed to be defeated and driven out, and fled to our Kango. However, the strength of the Blood Spirit Sect is still beyond doubt. The 3 great ancestors of the Blood Spirit Sect are the Blood Claw Ancestor, Wang Yun Ancestor, and Sha Fang Ancestor. You can tell from the names that the 3 of them are super strong men in the Jindan realm. But what does this have to do with the Golden Silkworm Society? Lu Lin couldn't help asking, could it be that the Golden Silkworm Society is still part of the Blood Spirit Sect? "Yes, you guessed it right." Lu Xuanlong smiled and explained. "The president of the Golden Silkworm Association, Master Jinkin, is the adopted son of the Blood Spirit Sect's ancestor Sha Fang. It is said that when the Blood Spirit Sect fled to our Kangzhou, the old president of the Golden Silkworm Association, Master Jinkin's grandfather, he had given some help to the Blood Spirit Sect, but later he died for unknown reasons, so Master Jinkin received this favor from the Blood Spirit Sect. Until now. So that's how it is." Lu Lin suddenly realized. But having said that, Master Jinkin still has some ability. Li Wenhua suddenly interrupted and said, "After all, the Golden Silkworm Association was just an ordinary foundation building chamber of commerce at the beginning, but now they have grown into a behemoth spanning several countries. Even with the support of the Blood Spirit Sect. This is not easy. So what?" Lu Xuanlong seemed to disagree with this, and curled his lips. "There are so many capable people, but few people can have the luck of the Golden Silkworm Association." Then he shook his head again, skipped this topic, and continued. The foundation building pill of the Golden Silkworm Association is called the Blood Spirit Pill. You can tell from the name that it should be something from the Blood Spirit sect. But the effect is indeed amazing. As far as I know, the success rate of ordinary foundation building pills is less than 20%, but the success rate of the Blood Spirit Pill is at least more than 30%. It is more than half higher. And do you know, the Blood Spirit Pill formula of the Golden Silkworm Association can even be sold. As soon as these words came out, Lu Lin was stunned for a moment, and then immediately asked with wide eyes. Is it true that the foundation building pill formula can also be sold? Does it sound a little incredible? But it is true. 70 years ago, the Kango Association of the neighboring Fenglan country once asked the Golden Silkworm Association to buy the Blood Spirit Pill formula. This is the first case I know of. Moreover, it was not just them. In the following decades, at least 3 or 4 powerful sects from various countries have asked them to buy the Blood Spirit Pill formula. But when it comes to this, Lu Xuanlong changed the subject again and curled his lips, said, "But this kind of thing is meaningless to us. We can't afford it at all. And even if we can afford it, what's the use? Are we still alchemists?" "Alchemists? Haha, that's a small matter." Li Wenhua laughed and said lightly, "People who can afford the Blood Spirit Pill formula will not find someone to make the pill, but the main problem is strength. If you are not strong enough, buying this thing is asking for trouble. It's even a way to death. Do you remember what happened to the Guoan family? Didn't they buy the Blood Spirit Pill formula with the power of the whole family, and then what? In less than a year, they were directly wiped out. They were uprooted overnight and turned into ashes. Why is this so? Isn't it because of the Blood Spirit Pill formula?" "Yes, the Guoan family." Lu Xuanlong nodded and squinted his eyes and sighed. "And Yunsheng, the ancestor of Guoan family. He is also a mid-stage foundation building warrior whose strength is not inferior to that of Master Lang Kang. Unfortunately, even he could not keep the Blood Spirit Pill formula. You can imagine what this means. It is no exaggeration to say that this thing is a disaster for the weak. Mid-stage foundation building, Lu Lin also murmured. And then fell into deep thought. In his current situation, he certainly cannot reach that level. But if his 5-dragon spirit can fully evolve to the 2nd level gray level, with the 5-dragon turn and the attack and defense of the 5-dragon spirit shield, by then, his strength should be comparable to that of an ordinary early foundation building warrior. But even so, it is not enough. Forget it, don't think about it anymore. Let's talk about it then, he murmured in his heart. Then he asked Li Wenhua and Lu Xuanlong in front of him again. "You two, I wonder if there will be any better foundation building realm treasures in this auction." Seeing that Lu Lin took the initiative to skip the topic of Blood Spirit Pill and Foundation Establishment Pill, neither of them said anything. In fact, speaking of it, this topic is actually their focus. Because they have also practiced Qi in the 11th heaven. If they can go one step further and reach the perfection of the 12 heavens. Foundation building pill. This is the biggest problem they need to face. Brother Lu, you don't have to worry about the treasures of heaven and earth. Li Wenhua smiled and explained. Relatively speaking, heavenly materials and earthly treasures, even those in the foundation building realm, are not that rare, especially those with 5 elements attributes, which are more common. If you only need fire, if you have water-type foundation building realm treasures of heaven and earth, then you don't have to worry about this problem at all. Just prepare the spirit stones. And if it's a pill, of course it would be even better. Lu Xuanlong also chimed in and said with a smile. Relatively speaking, elixirs are much more popular than spiritual stones. If there are enough elixirs, you can definitely buy them casually. Hearing the words and seeing the situation, Lu Lin also laughed. Then thank you both for taking me there. Come on, let me toast you too. He picked up the wine glass. Drink it all in one gulp. At the same time, I only saw Li Wenhua and Lu Xuanlong. They all laughed and drank from their wine glasses in one gulp. For a time, the atmosphere here became quite heated. Whether it was true or false, it was indeed easier to get closer to each other at this wine table. Everything went very smoothly. The next day, they left this place together, rushed towards Langkang Mountain. The days passed by, and in less than half a month, Lu Lin, Lu Xuanlong, and Li Wenhua arrived at the destination of their trip, Langkang Mountain. Langkang Mountain is located in the central hinterland of the Cheki Kingdom. The overall area is also very large. It is also one of the 3 major mountain ranges known as the Cheki Kingdom. You can imagine what this concept is. And here, there is even Kenyan City, a world-famous commercial city in the Chi-Chi Kingdom. Stand here. Therefore, the number of mortals here is also extremely large, even as big as hundreds of thousands or millions. On this day, Lu Lin and the 3 of them had already arrived here, at Kenyan City. What? The auction is here? Lu Lin asked curiously. But isn't this a mortal city? Although in today's world of cultivation, the isolation between cultivators like them and the mortals in the mundane world is relatively not that complete, but there is still such a huge ravine across it, separating their worlds from each other. Therefore, a large-scale event for cultivators like them would actually be held in a mortal city. In his opinion, this is a very rare and novel thing. And at this time, Li Wenhua also nodded. Then he said with a smile, "That's right, Brother Lu, as of now, he is indeed here." At present, yes, Li Wenhua nodded and continued. The real Langkang Mountain auction has not started yet, it will probably take 2 or 3 months. Only when it really starts will we be qualified to go to Langkang Mountain. After all, that place is the territory of Master Langkang. Under normal circumstances, strangers are kept away and no one is allowed to approach at all. So that's it, Lu Lin suddenly realized. Then he asked out of curiosity, "What about these now?" Although the threshold for the Langkang Mountain auction has been lowered a lot, there are still a large number of ordinary monks, casual cultivators, etc. They are not qualified to go there, so they all simply took advantage of this opportunity and took advantage of the reputation of Langkang Mountain auction to start their own trading house in Kenyan City. Li Wenhua explained with a smile. That's right. At this moment, Lu Xuanlong also nodded, and then said loudly, although the level of their trade fairs is definitely much weaker than that of the Langkang Mountain auction, they also have their own advantages, that is, they are large in scale and have the largest number of people. After all, monks like us in the realm of Qi training are the ones in the world of cultivation. The absolute mainstream among them, we have the largest number of people. And this fair lasts a long time, a full half a year. Although we are already a little late now, it doesn't matter. Because from now on, until the day when the Langkang Mountain auction really starts, this fair will not end until then. So we still have a lot of time and opportunities. So that's it. Lu Lin opened his mouth, a little surprised. It turns out that this is actually a trade fair organized by a group of Qi training monks, or casual cultivators, or ordinary monks, taking advantage of the popularity of the Langkang Mountain auction. Not to mention it seems really good, compared with the Langkangshan auction, which sounds a bit high-end. Relatively speaking, he prefers this so-called trade fair, because this is not only more down-to-earth, but also safer and more convenient, with more choices. So he immediately nodded and said, "Then I'll ask you two to lead the way." Ha. As soon as he said this, Lu Xuanlong burst into laughter and said with a loud laugh, "Brother Lu, I knew you would be more interested in this trade fair. In fact, we are too. The Langkangshan auction is good, but it's too formal. And the level over there is more biased toward foundation building experts, so for us, that auction was actually very stressful. It's not as relaxing and comfortable as this one." Then he changed the subject again and walked out immediately. "Let's go, I'll take you there. Maybe with luck we can get a good start. Ha. Let's go, let's go." Seeing the excited state and look on Lu Xuanlong's face, Lu Lin and Li Wenhua also laughed, and then they all walked towards a certain place inside Kenyan City under the leadership of Lu Xuanlong. Soon, a square appeared in front of them. From the outside, this didn't seem to be anything special, but Lu Lin looked around and didn't know why, but he always felt a little strange. "Brother Lu, it seems you have discovered it. Ha, it is indeed the 12th heavenly perfection. It is so amazing." At this moment, Li Wenhua suddenly said, then pointed to a dimly lit place in front and said with a smile, "This is the hidden magic circle. The entrance to the magic circle is right there." Hidden magic circle. Lu Lin was stunned for a moment. Then he reacted. His feeling was actually right. There is indeed a problem here. But at this moment, Lu Xuanlong took the lead and walked in the direction pointed by Li Wenhua's finger. When they saw this scene, they all followed him. Not long after, A wonderful feeling came over me. The scenery in front of me suddenly changed. In front of them, a huge trading market actually appeared. The market was bustling with people, and there were monks walking around everywhere, as well as many stall owners setting up stalls on the spot. Further away, there are rows of houses. It looks like a store, majestic and beautifully built. Finally, this is it. Lu Xuanlong's voice came and he said excitedly, "Brother Lu, these in front of us are stall areas. You only need to pay a certain amount of spiritual stones to the manager to set up stalls and sell things here. We can take a good look at these stalls and look for them. Maybe we can find something good. And there are many stalls here, thousands of them. It will last us a long time." Thousands. Lu Lin was surprised, and then a little excited. Because he finally figured it out now. It turns out that this is actually a large stall market. Or the Taobao market. What a great place. It's really a really nice place. Don't tell me, he is even a little excited now. Because shopping is addictive, and Taobao is the same. There are so many stalls, looking at them one by one, there are endless surprises and endless freshness. It feels so uncomfortable. But then he pointed at the eye-catching buildings not far away and asked, Brother Lu, Brother Li, what are those buildings?" "That's the Golden Silkworm Society," Lu Xuanlong said casually. "Actually, the organizer and manager of this fair is the Golden Silkworm Association. I have to say that they really have the brains to come up with this method." Then he shook his head again. "Explain it." "Those shops of the Golden Silkworm Association are prepared for big customers who are in a hurry. Some people are in a hurry and can't catch up with the auction in a few months, but if they need to buy some expensive treasures, they can go there and have a look. In any case, the strength of the Golden Silkworm Association is still good. As long as it's not too expensive or too rare, they should be able to get it and sell it. But in terms of price, I'm afraid it's 30 to 40% higher than other places, or even more than half." Then Lu Xuanlong curled his lips again. Mocked. "I have to say, these guys are really very evil. Taking advantage of the trade fair and the Langkang Mountain auction, they are eager to double their sales. They are really robbing people." "You can't say that." Li Wenhua shook his head, but he said something fair. "One is willing to fight and the other is willing to suffer. It is a matter of mutual consent. Besides, they have worked so hard to create such a big scene. And the opportunity. What's wrong with earning more spiritual stones? No problem, it's a matter of course." Then he smiled at Lu Lin and said, "Brother Lu, the place is here. How about we split up? If we get tired of walking around later, we can meet here again. What do you think?" Split up. Lu Lin was stunned for a moment, and then felt a little emotional in his heart. Look, he still needs to learn more. This style of doing things is reliable. He has a certain degree of advance and retreat, and is quite sensible. He can immediately eliminate any embarrassment they may have in the future. They were all nipped in the cradle in advance. After all, strictly speaking, they didn't know each other very well. It was just a chance meeting, just a transaction, and his next shopping trip really needed to be done separately. So he nodded directly. "Good, then see you later." As soon as he finished speaking, Li Wenhua and Lu Xuanlong waved their hands at him and then turned around, heading towards the trading markets in front of me. And after seeing this scene, Lu Lin also shook his head. Then he turned around and walked into the trading market. As soon as I stepped into it, his eyes were immediately dazzled. Pills, talismans, magic weapons, treasures from heaven and earth, array of flags and arrays, even practicing exercises, magical powers, etc. It seems like everything is available and there is so much variety. It was just when he glanced at it with a slightly serious look. But some subconsciously frowned slightly, because he suddenly discovered the quality level of these things. It seems too low. Jinyandan, there is actually one here. Is this the egret stone? It is an earth-based chi training realm treasure of heaven and earth, as well as ginseng grass, snake bark, century-old orchid, dragon tongue lotus. Tisk, these things seem to be things from the chi training realm. And this magic weapon seems a little more powerful. But it's only in the category of ordinary magic weapons, and it's only suitable for those below the 10th level of chi training. Hey, it's over, my expectations have been raised. I seem to have overestimated the value of this trade fair, and this is giving me a headache. Lu Lin muttered a little. At the same time, he couldn't help but feel a little disappointed in his heart. Because his expectations were indeed a bit high before. After all, it was my first time to come to a place like this, so I still suffered from my inexperience. But based on his current specific situation, these chi training realm things are indeed of little use to him. He doesn't need it. But at this moment, suddenly a cautious voice came from beside him. Hello, senior, sorry to bother you. Lu Lin was stunned for a moment, and looked sideways, only to find a dark-skinned little guy who looked to be only 17 or 18 years old, looking at him with a nervous and uneasy face. Is something wrong? Lu Lin asked back. Senior, this is how it is. I observed your expression earlier, and it seems that you are dissatisfied with these things. If you want to buy something, you can tell me. This junior is called Zhang Zihan. There are 1,142 people in this fair. I am familiar with all the stalls, so I may be able to help you. It can also save some of your precious time. The little guy plucked up the courage and said. Although I can clearly feel his nervousness and fear. But he still finished his words seriously. After listening to this, Lu Lin naturally understood. It seems that this guy should be an errand boy in this market, acting as a bridge between intermediaries and earning some errand information fees. But having said that, this is obviously a life and death effort. You must know that the kid in front of you is only at the second level of chi training. He is too weak. I was a little unlucky and met a guy with a weird temper. He suffers from them all, especially those casual cultivators and ordinary monks. There are too many people among them with twisted personalities and irregularities. If one of them is not good, it is common for you to be killed or maimed. So it is no exaggeration to say that this is definitely a serious high risk. But he didn't say much. Instead, he nodded and said, Are there any water-attributed foundation building realm or fire-attributed treasures here? Foundation building realm. Zhang Zihan was stunned for a moment, as if he was shocked. But he still reacted quickly and said immediately, Yes. Really. Lu Lin was also surprised. Unexpectedly, after asking casually, there was really one. Then he said immediately, Let's go, lead the way. Senior, please follow me. Zhang Zihan bowed respectfully to Lu Lin. Then turned around and began to lead the way. Not long after, they came to a stall. The stall owner was a bald man who looked a bit fierce, about 40 or 50 years old. More importantly, this guy's cultivation realm strength was not weak, and he was actually the great perfection of the 12th level of chi training realm. In front of him, there were three things on the stall: a knife-like top-grade magic weapon, a scroll that seemed to be a practice method, or a jade slip of magic, and a stone that seemed to be jumping with flames. Especially this stone. Lu Lin was attracted at first sight, and then he couldn't help but pursed his lips and smiled. Because the thing is good. It is indeed a natural treasure of fire attribute in the foundation building realm. How much is this thing? Then he didn't waste any words. He squatted down and picked up the stone to ask the price. I saw that the bald monk's expression and attitude were a bit dull. But when he took a closer look at Lu Lin, he seemed to have discovered something. The next second, he smiled. He said with a smile, This is a natural treasure of fire attribute in the foundation building realm, the fire scale stone, which is worth a lot of money. Let's put it this way, I won't waste any more words with you. 150,000 low-grade spirit stones, this thing is yours. 150,000. Lu Lin thought about it in his heart and realized that the price must be expensive. But to him, it doesn't seem to matter whether it's expensive or not. Because he doesn't lack spiritual stones at all. And it's still endless, the unlimited kind. So he reached out and touched the storage bag, and then a sparkling spirit stone appeared in his hand, and he threw it to the other party. That's it, 1 for 1. Do you want to sell it? Medium grade spiritual stone. The bald monk's pupils shrank. Then he nodded without hesitation. Sell. As the saying goes, the asking price is high and the price is low enough to pay back the money. He must have shouted 150,000 low-grade spiritual stones randomly, and he didn't expect to sell so much, so he must have made a profit on this medium-grade spiritual stone. After all, the market price of this thing, it would cost at least 120,000 to 30,000 yuan. Thank you. Lu Lin immediately put away the fire lin stone in his hand, and at the same time turned to look at Zhang Zihan and continued to ask. I also need water-type foundation building realm treasures of heaven and earth. Do you know where they are? Senior, as far as I know, there shouldn't be what you want in the market, but there should be some at the Golden Silkworm Association. Zhang Zihan said immediately. Golden Silkworm Club. Lu Lin narrowed his eyes, then nodded, and at the same time threw a bag of things to the other party. Okay, take this as your reward. Besides, be careful yourself. Zhang Zihan was stunned for a moment, and then his face immediately became excited, even ecstatic. He immediately knelt down and kowtowed to Lu Lin. Thank you, Senior, for the reward. Thank you, Senior. Just this scene. I don't know why Lu Lin felt a little uncomfortable watching it. Or a little sad. In fact, his current age is not much different from that of the other party. If he didn't have the blessing of the pendant's copying ability, if he didn't have smooth sailing before, would his current ending be as humble and low level as the guy in front of him? Why? So he sighed in his heart, and then said lightly. Get up. By the way, my name is Lu Lin. I will be here in Kenyan City during this period. Get ready. If anything happens, I will go find you. As soon as this statement came out, the bald monk suddenly became happy. He looked at Zhang Zihan, who was kneeling on the ground, and kowtowed and said with a smile. Tisk, tisk, good luck, boy. I didn't expect fellow Taoist to be so sympathetic. Ha ha ha. Of course he understands. Lu Lin's words were nothing more than putting on a layer of protective clothing for the kid in front of him. Otherwise, how could they, a dignified monk of the 12 heavens and great perfection, need the help of such a little kid? That is nonsense. At the same time, Zhang Zihan also reacted obviously, and his face was full of excitement and ecstasy. Kowtow to Lu Lin. Thank you, Senior. Thank you, Senior. But at this time, Lu Lin already shook his head, and then walked towards the direction of the Golden Silkworm Association. Sympathy is sympathy, but he can only do so much. After all, respect the fate of others. He is not the Almighty God either. After a while, he came to the inside of the Jinkanwei store. I have to say that the world here and outside are indeed completely different. I feel that the atmosphere and environment are much more luxurious. Looking around, it is full of jewels, extremely dazzling and bright, and majestic. Hello dear guest, welcome to Jinkanwei. What services do you need? Or what do you need to buy? Don't worry, you will definitely find everything you want in our Jinkanwei. At this moment, a gentle voice came. I saw a very beautifully dressed female nun walking slowly. His expression and attitude were all respectful. I want the heavenly materials and earthly treasures of the foundation building realm, are there any? Lu Lin didn't talk nonsense and got straight to the point. Senior, don't worry, of course there is. The female cultivator said without hesitation, then pointed to the stairs on the second floor not far away and said respectfully. Senior, please come with me. There will be a special adult to receive you on the way. Please. So Lu Lin followed him, and not long after, he came to a room. What was even more exaggerated was that there was actually a female cultivator at the foundation establishment realm waiting for him in this room. This is a woman wearing a gauze skirt and floral clothes. She looks like she is in her 30s or 40s. She is very mature and charming, and her figure is very dazzling and hot. She is very prominent, but Lu Lin's eyes twitched. I was shocked in my heart. Because the other party is a foundation builder. But a genuine foundation building expert. No, is this golden silkworm capable of being so generous? A powerful foundation builder actually has to come out and sell things in person. But everything has come. He had no choice but to bite the bullet and speak. Hello, Senior, Junior Lu Lin, I'm here to buy something. Haha, little friend Lu, you don't have to be so reserved. The woman smiled seductively, and then introduced herself. Let me introduce myself. My surname is Yun, and I am the steward of this branch of the Golden Silkworm Association. Don't worry, you are the guest here and I am the boss. Let's discuss matters as they happen. Our identities are equal, so you don't have to be so worried and nervous. We at Jinkan Club are open for business and are always very friendly. After all, peace makes money, aren't you right? Oh, by the way, I heard from the people below that you want to buy heavenly materials and earthly treasures in the foundation building realm. I've seen each other say this. Lu Lin did feel a little better. And nodded. Yes, Senior Yun, I want to buy a water-attributed foundation building treasure. Water attributed. Okay, wait for me. The woman surnamed Yun stood up and walked out. Not long after, she came back, and in front of her, there was even a tray hanging in the air. There were 3 things in it. They are a lotus that looks like a sapphire, a stone that looks like a seahorse, and a thing that looks like a vine. Friend Lu, take a look at these 3 things. Which one do you like? The woman surnamed Yun sat down, and then explained them one by one. The one on the left is the crystal lotus. This thing belongs to the most common foundation building realm treasure, and its value is average. There is nothing much to say. The one in the middle is the 1000-water seahorse stone, which is produced in the deep sea area and is very rare. Relatively speaking, its quality and value are also higher. And the last one is the water dragon vine. This is an extremely rare companion creature in the habitat of the Jindan realm demon king Jiaolong clan. This thing is not only very rare, but also very tough and magical. It is said that in this water dragon vine, there will be a trace of diluted dragon power. Although it is only a trace, it is amazing enough. Dragon power. Lu Lin was surprised. Yes, dragon power. The woman surnamed Yun nodded and said with a smile. The dragon race is one of the most powerful beings in the world. And dragon might is their exclusive power. It is extremely terrifying and powerful. Even powerful enough to destroy the world. The Jiaolong clan is a subspecies of the dragon clan. So they will have some diluted dragon blood in them. Dragon power. This is all normal. As for the water dragon vine, it is possible that it has been corroded by the power of the dragon demon king for a long time, or even for many years. Slowly this power was born. So the practicality and value of this water dragon vine are still very high. Especially, if this object can be used as the main material to forge a natal magical weapon in the foundation building realm, the power of the finished product will be considered relatively powerful even among the level of foundation building experts. Speaking of which, she changed the subject, looked at Lu Lin and said with a smile. Lu Xiaoyu, you can think carefully about these 3 things, which one do you want? Consider. Lu Lin rolled his eyes in his heart. For him, he didn't need to think about it at all. As long as he could buy it, the more expensive the better, and the higher the quality, the better. But the problem is that having said that, he still needs to consider the risks. After all, with his current level of cultivation at the 12th level of Qi practicing in Dzogchen, he can actually afford enough wealth to purchase such expensive, high-level foundation building level heavenly materials and earthly treasures. Isn't this just making trouble for himself? Looking for trouble. But even so, doesn't he want this treasure anymore? Looking at the natural treasure water dragon vine in the tray in front of me. Lu Lin's eyes were filled with confusion. I am also very unwilling in my heart. Because, he actually knows everything. The so-called water dragon vine in front of him is definitely better than the fire lin stone, as well as the other 2 dead tree branches and honeycomb stones in his hand. Definitely a higher level than them all. And more importantly, if we talk about fire stone, dead tree branches, and honeycomb stone, these 3 things can only help him to bring out his fire soul, wood soul, and earth soul. If you upgrade to the 3rd orange level, so water dragon vine, it should be able to help him upgrade his water soul to the 4th level of red. In other words, this is a high-level foundation building level heavenly material and earthly treasure second only to the dark iron golden soul and second only to spiritual materials. In other words, this thing. How uncommon. Will there be no such store after passing this village? Lu Lin's expression suddenly changed. He is really confused now. But at this moment, the woman named Yun suddenly spoke. She said with a smile. Lu Xiaoyu, I understand what you are worried about, but I think you don't need to be so cautious. At any rate, our golden silkworms will stand here for hundreds of years. Not to mention how good our reputation are, how perfect they are, but they are not too bad. He is also a good person. A well-known chamber of commerce, right? Then she changed the subject. Look at Lu Lin. So, although this water dragon vine is good, but it's not like we, the Golden Silkworm Society, will destroy our city walls and tarnish our reputation. Why don't you, Lu Xiaoyu, think more about it? What do you think? Upon hearing this, Lu Lin raised his head and glanced at the other party, but the other party just smiled indifferently. And I didn't say much more. In this way, there was silence for a while. Lu Lin suddenly asked, I dare to ask Senior, how much does this thing cost? As soon as these words came out, the woman surnamed Yun immediately looked at Lu Lin, then smiled and held out 2 fingers. Said with a smile, Lu Xiaoyu, the price of this water dragon vine is 200 yuan of mid-grade spiritual stones. Wah, what, so expensive? Lu Lin's face changed drastically and he was shocked. 200 pieces of middle-grade spiritual stones. Is this a robbery? It's an astronomical figure. Expensive. However, the woman named Yun shook her head. And still smiling lightly. At the same time, he said calmly, Lu Xiaoyu, to be honest, the price is really not expensive. You have to know that this water dragon vine is a high-level treasure of heaven and earth in the foundation building realm. This is not the garbage from the Qi training realm that you have seen in the past. And more importantly, if this water dragon vine is used properly, it can cast a quite top-notch foundation building magic weapon. Quote, by then, even if we look at the entire foundation building realm, we will have extremely powerful combat power. So the price is really not expensive. Even if this water dragon vine can be put on the market at the next Langkang mountain auction. Haha, by then, not to mention 200 mid-grade spiritual stones, even 250 yuan, or even $100. It's not impossible. Do you think what I said is right? Lu Xiaoyu. The woman named Yun looked at Lu Lin with a smile. Seems like victory is already within reach. Are you convinced? But I have to admit, Lu Lin was indeed moved. The treasures of the world can be obtained by those who are destined to do so. A rare opportunity. He really didn't want to miss it. And more importantly, the complete, Gray level 5 dragon souls are too attractive to him. By then, not only the power of the 5 dragon spins will increase dramatically. Take it to the next level. And by then he can learn a new one more. A very powerful magical power, the 5 dragon spiritual shield. These are all real improvements in actual combat effectiveness. To him, all have endless benefits, so when I think of this, he simply didn't bother to struggle anymore, and he has been struggling in front of the other party for so long now. In a sense, maybe he has exposed a lot of information, right? I bought something. This is 200 pieces of middle-grade spiritual stones. The next moment, Lu Lin took out 200 middle-grade spiritual stones and placed them on the ground in front of him. Then he grabbed the water dragon vine on the hanging tray in front of him, turned around and left. Farewell. All this happened suddenly and so fast that even the woman surnamed Yun, a powerful foundation builder, seemed a little unable to react. But after the next breath or two, the woman surnamed Yun also reacted. Suddenly he laughed. Little friend Lu, please go slowly. Lu Xiaoyu, if you have any other needs next time, you might as well come to Kenyan City and ask me. My name is Yun Junjun, please remember it. After a second or two, Lu Lin's voice came. If I have a chance, I'll come. PFF'd. Suddenly, Yun Junjun burst into laughter. Her smile was as beautiful as a flower, but after a moment, her face became more playful and she murmured. What a naive little guy. Master, this should be the biggest fat sheep in this auction, right? At this moment, a voice came from the room. Looking carefully, it turned out to be a bird in a birdcage in the room speaking. Lu Lin actually saw him before, but he just thought it was a pet bird and didn't think much about it. However, if he saw this scene now, he would probably be frightened to the point of sweating, right? Because speaking people's words, with very few exceptions, this is the patent of the great demons in the foundation building realm. In other words, this bird is actually a great demon in the foundation building realm. The biggest big fat sheep. At present, it seems so. Yun Junjun leaned on his chin with his hand and said with squinted eyes. 200 middle-grade spiritual stones were taken out without blinking an eye. It is conceivable that his real family wealth must be much more than this. But master, 200 middle-grade spiritual stones, is this too much? It's impossible for ordinary people to get so many middle-grade spiritual stones. The big demon bird slowly. But as soon as he said this, Yun Junjun shook his head. Then he said with a faint smile. Ordinary person. No, 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 of course he is not an ordinary person. He is less than 20 years old, and he has already reached the perfection level of Qi training. Do you know, he is a genius. What, he is less than 20 years old? The big demon bird was shocked. Then he said with a solemn expression. If you say so, this person is not simple. Master, do we still want to tell the blood spirit sect about him? Hehe, why not? Yun Junjun smiled calmly and said with twinkling eyes. Anyway, we are just selling information, it is not a big deal. Even if something does happen in the end, it will not be our Golden Silkworm Association's problem, but the blood spirit sect's problem. So, let them fight. Besides, I'm also a little curious about what will happen to this kid in the end. After all, we may be a little wary of his secrets, but those guys from the blood spirit sect are not. They are all very lawless. Haha. There is no other way. Who told them to back up 3 Jindan patriarchs? The big demon bird curled its lips. Then he said a little sourly. In our 3-acre land, the blood spirit sect is definitely the well-deserved #1 overlord. So it's normal for them not to be afraid. After all, their strength lies there. But Yun Junjun ignored him. He just stood up and said lightly. Okay, stop talking about this, go find someone to keep an eye on him, and send information about him to the blood spirit gate. Such a fat sheep. It's so rare to see him, so don't let him get away. As soon as the words fell, the big demon bird suddenly turned into a flash of light. I fluttered my wings and left here in an instant. Before long, on the 3rd floor of a tall building somewhere in Kenyan City. In an interior room. The interior decoration of the room is dark. There is a dark and quiet atmosphere everywhere, as well as bloody lines. In the room, there is a large mahogany desk in the middle. Behind the desk, there was a middle-aged man with a hooked nose sitting. He was drawing on rice paper with a brush. But suddenly someone walked in from outside. Then he bowed directly to him. He said sternly, Elder Wu, there is news from the Golden Silkworm Association. They seem to have a big customer coming. Oh, the hook-nosed man put down his brush, raised his head and looked at the man in front of him. At the same time, there was a trace of sinister blood in his eyes, and he sneered. Big customer, how big can it be? Elder Wu, it is said that he is a cheap practicing realm Zochin who is less than 20 years old. He spent a full 200 yuan of middle-grade spiritual stones to buy a water dragon vine from the Golden Silkworm Association. How many? How many? Elder Wu was stunned for a moment. Then his face changed and he became surprised. 200 pieces of middle-grade spiritual stones. Yes, it is indeed 200 yuan. Hehe. Elder Wu sneered and said playfully. If that's the case, then he is indeed a big customer. Yes, Yun Junjun's slutty finally has some effect. This guy is very good this time. Ha ha ha. He laughed and seemed excited. But the man who bowed slightly seemed a little cautious and worried. Then he couldn't help but said. But Elder Wu, is that boy too young? A cheap practicing state that is less than 20 years old should not be cultivated by ordinary sect forces. Isn't this a bit difficult to mess with? You fart. Elder Wu cursed angrily. Jiao Road. Not to be trifled with. Who is not to be trifled with? We are the blood spirit sect. Who do we need to be afraid of? Zhang Yuan, you idiot. Remember this. Our blood spirit sect is not afraid of anyone. Do you understand? Zhang Yuan, who bowed slightly, suddenly trembled all over. Some cold sweat broke out. Then he immediately apologized. Yes, I'm sorry, Elder Wu, I know I was wrong, I'm sorry. Snort. Elder Wu snorted coldly. Then he asked again. Zhang Yuan, where is that boy now? Elder Wu, the people from the Golden Silkworm Association are watching him. And he seems to be still in Kenyan City and hasn't left yet. I guess he plans to participate in the next Langkang Mountain auction. If that's the case, he should have many, many more treasures on his body. Zhang Yuan pursed his lips and said. His face also became a little greedy. HMPH, you're right, is this really a big customer? Ha 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 ha. Elder Wu snorted coldly, and then laughed again. Then, there was still some contempt on his face. And a sarcastic sneer. Such a big customer can't count on those rubbish from Jinkanwei. If he runs away, it will be a huge loss. Let's do this, Zhang Yuan, go and keep an eye on him in person. Wait until the Langkang Mountain auction is over. Let's do it right away. We must not let him get away. Yes, Elder Wu. Zhang Yuan nodded, but then hesitated. But what if he intends to sneak away during the day when the auction at Langkang Mountain begins? Wouldn't it be a bit bad if we kill him directly? Then won't you wait until he's far away before you do it? Elder Wu looked at him with disdain, with a look of disappointment on his face. Zhang Yuan, after all, you are also a foundation-building cultivator of our blood spirit sect. How come you don't even have this much brain? A mere qi training trash, can't you take him down? Of course you can. Zhang Yuan was anxious, his face flushed. That's it. Elder Wu's face darkened and he said coldly. No matter when he runs, you just need to keep an eye on him, right? Anyway, as long as he's far away from Kenyan City, who knows how he died? And even if someone knows, no one cares. Do you understand? You're a brainless idiot. After being scolded again, Zhang Yuan was so angry that his face turned red, and his face turned blue and purple. But he still swallowed his anger and nodded. I know, Elder Wu. I know what to do. Go ahead. Elder Wu waved his hand, as if he was a little impatient. But the next moment, he seemed to suddenly remember something, and immediately stopped Zhang Yuan, who was about to turn around and leave. Wait, anything else, Elder Wu? Are the people from Wujiman here? Wujiman. Zhang Yuan was stunned for a moment. Then he shook his head and said, not yet. It seems they haven't come yet. But then, his eyes also twinkled, staring at Elder Wu, and asked, Elder Wu, I heard that Wuji sect plans to buy our blood spirit pill recipe. Is this true? It's indeed true. Then, are we going to do something against them? It's not clear yet. Elder Wu shook his head and said with narrowed eyes, the Wuji sect's strength is pretty good, and they even have several strong men in the middle and late stages of the foundation establishment realm. It's just a blood elixir recipe. It doesn't seem worth offending them for this little thing. Forget it, let's do this for now, you go ahead. Don't rush this matter now, we'll talk about it later. It's Elder Wu, I'll leave first. And at the same time, Lu Lin also quickly found Lu Xuanlong and Li Wenhua, and then left the trade fair alone, and found a place in Kenyan City to retreat and practice. He needs to hurry up. Try to upgrade his water soul and fire soul to the gray level before the Langkang Mountain auction begins. In that case, he will already have the power to protect himself. So quickly, his hard work has clearly paid off. In just over half a month, the water soul in his body had been successfully upgraded to the second level of gray level with the feeding of water dragon vine. After that, more than a month passed. The last shortcoming of the 5 dragon souls in his body, the fire soul, has also been successfully upgraded to the second level of gray level with the feeding of a large amount of fire stone. Since then, the 5 dragon souls in his body have also completed their comprehensive evolution. It has all changed to the second level of gray. It's great. It's finally done. It shouldn't be too late, right? Lu Lin stretched his waist, murmured, although he has now achieved the initial goal of his trip. But he still didn't want to miss the upcoming Langkang Mountain auction. First of all, he was interested in those foundation-building elixirs at the auction, blood spirit pills. Secondly, with his current strength, whether it is the Green Toad Child Mother Shield or even the Ziyang Thunder Fire Shield, they should all be on the verge of elimination. So he also planned to take this opportunity. Buy some new treasures at the auction that can beat the bottom of the box. Come and press the bottom of the box. Expand your bullet library inventory to be prepared. However, Lu Xuanlong and Li Wenhua haven't bothered me yet. Then it's probably not time yet. So his eyes flashed, and other thoughts came into his mind. Just in time, I can take this opportunity to practice the 5 dragon spiritual shield more. 5 dragon spiritual shield, one of the 3 major magical powers in 5 spirit transport technique. A defensive magical power, amazing defense. It is very mysterious, but it must be done after the 5 dragon souls in the cultivator's body have reached the second level of gray level. Only then can it be used and displayed. And now, he has finally reached the initial threshold for learning to use the 5 dragon spirit shield. Then give it a try. Lu Lin murmured, and then he immediately tried it according to the methods and techniques of using the 5 dragon spirit shield as described in the 5 spirit transport technique. Suddenly there was a muffled buzzing sound. Around his body, layers and layers appeared out of thin air, as if they were colorful whirlpools of 5-element power. These vortices are like layers of light curtains. They were all there quietly, but even though they were quiet, Lu Lin could clearly feel their power, or how powerful and amazing their defense was. It's amazing. It seems that the defensive power of this 5-dragon spirit shield is definitely at the foundation level. And the defensive power of this thing should be several times stronger than the green toad child and mother shield. Lu Lin looked a little surprised. Stand up. At the same time, he was also very excited and happy. Because there is no harm without comparison. If the defense value of Qingqian's mother-child shield is 1, then the defense value of these 5-dragon spirit shields are at least 5, 6, 7, or more. It's several times higher. And if there is such a huge gap in defense power, it can definitely reach its level above the true foundation building realm. When I think of this, Lu Lin simply took out the Ziyang Thunder Fire Shield. Try, he murmured. Then he raised his hand and threw the Purple Sun Thunder Fire Shield in his hand. Boom, rumble. In an instant, there was a loud roar. Thunders and thunderbolts, fires overflowing. Almost the entire secret room was instantly filled with terrifying and powerful thunder and fire power. Then he directly opened the bow with his left and right hands. It is directly used as a distraction. At the same time, he began to control the Purple Sun Thunder Fire Shield and the 5-dragon Spirit Shield. Go, he muttered, and instantly unleashed the full power of the Purple Sun Thunder Fire Barrier. At the same time, he also unleashed the power of the 5-dragon spiritual shields in actual combat. Town. In an instant, boom, the surrounding space seemed to pause. Then, I saw the power of countless colorful vortexes. It actually immediately sealed off all the spatial areas where the Purple Sun Thunder Flame Barrier was located in all directions. The originally extremely powerful magical weapon, Purple Sun Thunder Fire Barrier. At this time, it was completely locked in place. So smart, Lu Lin was pleasantly surprised, with a hint of joy in her eyes. Try again. Boom, boom. Then Lu Lin immediately increased his firepower. It completely amplified the power of the Purple Sun Thunder Fire Barrier to the extreme. However, even so, the vortex power of the colorful 5-dragon spiritual shields in front of me is still as stable as a mountain. It's like there will be no breakthrough at all. As soon as this scene occurs, Lu Lin couldn't help laughing immediately. Ha ha ha. Well done. Unexpectedly, even the maximum power of the Ziyang Thunder Fire Shield could not affect the defense of the 5-dragon spiritual shield at all. This is much better than what he expected before. You must know that the attack power of Ziyang Thunder Fire Barrier is definitely at the foundation level, but the defensive power of 5-dragon spirit shield is obviously above it, and this can obviously explain one thing. That is the defensive power of the 5-dragon spirit shields now. It should be almost close to the middle stage of foundation building. To him, this is great news, because if even the 5-dragon spiritual shields are like this, so what about the attack power of Wulongzuan? Is this also the case? Then try again. Suddenly Lu Lin said again. Then he saw that he couldn't wait to quickly show the power of the 5-dragon transformations. 5-dragon spins. Boom, boom. Chapter 51. Rumble, rumble. In an instant, the muffled sound roared continuously. I saw streams of 5-colored light appearing out of thin air. In front of Lu Lin, 5 groups of giant pythons suddenly appeared. Even a torrent of light as powerful and majestic as a dragon. These powers shone before him. At the same time, it also exuded an extremely powerful and astonishing aura and pressure. Buzz, 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 buzz. The dull sonic booms continued to explode. It was so loud that my eardrums were hurting and it was deafening. When such a scene occurs, it is also extremely amazing and terrifying. And after seeing this scene, feeling the pressure of these powerful and amazing momentum, Lu Lin couldn't help but have a bright smile on his face. He just grinned and laughed. Because he knows he made the right bet. The attack power of the current Wulongzuan is impressive. It is also the same as the defense power of the 5-dragon spiritual shield, which has completely surpassed the early stage of the foundation establishment realm to which the Purple Sun Thunder Fire Shield belongs. In other words, his current actual combat effectiveness. I'm afraid it can already be regarded as invincible at the early stage of the foundation establishment realm. It's really a bit outrageous, ha ha ha. After understanding these clearly, Rao must have been mentally prepared. At this time, Lu Lin was still a little excited and emotional. As expected of the 5-spirit transport technique, it's so powerful. It's really cowhide. However, I don't know what the origin of this 5-spirit transporting technique is. A mere person who has perfected chi training can actually have such a powerful strength. What if he waits until he reaches the great perfection of foundation establishment? Does that mean I can compete with the ancestor of Jindan? But this shouldn't be possible, right? Anyway, the foundation building realm is different from the golden elixir. The gap between these two realms is too big. Then he continued to retreat. The next focus of training is, of course, to become familiar with the 5-dragon spiritual shield and practice the use of the 5-dragon spin. What is certain is that the Ziyang Thunder Fire Shield, whose attack power and damage has been surpassed, can already be semi-eliminated. And next, the 5-dragon spin, which integrates offense and defense, and the 5-dragon spiritual shield. It will become the main force and mainstream of his next fighting style. This is also a new beginning. The days pass by. But this time, only more than half a month had passed, and Lu Lin had already stopped practicing and broke out. And this, of course, is because of the day when the Langkang Mountain auction begins. About to arrive. At this time, the number of monks in the entire Kenyan city, especially those in the middle and late stages of Qi training realm, Dzogchen realm, and even the foundation establishment realm, was also increasing. There are lights and colorful decorations everywhere. It seemed like there was some kind of celebration going on. This is because with the Langkang Mountain auction about to begin, the trading houses in Kenyan City will also usher in the final climax. By then, double meetings will be held at the same time. This is indeed a grand event. At this time, Lu Lin, Li Wenhua, and Lu Xuanlong had already left Kenyan City and embarked on their way to the interior of Langkang Mountain. Moreover, the location of Kenyan City is actually very close to the Langkangshan people's mansion in Langkang Mountain. Therefore, it only takes them a few hours at most to reach their destination. Just a few hours later, they had already arrived somewhere deep in Langkang Mountain. It's here. A majestic cave mansion stands between the mountain walls, and there are also a lot of people coming and going at this time. At least there were dozens, or even hundreds of people. Although this scene is not as lively as the one in Kenyan City, it is still pretty good in this inaccessible mountain. And what's more, almost all of the people who come and go here have a level of cultivation that is far higher than those in Kenyan City. Build the foundation. The 11th level of Qi training. The 12th level of Qi training. Build the foundation. Build the foundation. Lu Lin's eyes kept scanning the people passing by. And in the end, he also got an amazing result. Those are the monks appearing here at this moment. They are really all based on those who are strong in the foundation building realm. According to his observation, among almost every 10 people, at least 3 or 4 are strong in the foundation building realm. And this is undoubtedly a very exaggerated and shocking numerical ratio. After all, this is a strong person in the foundation building realm. It's not just cats and dogs, it's almost half. This ratio is really incredible. It's really a bit scary. Suddenly, Lu Lin also felt a little emotional, murmured. It is indeed the Langkang Mountain auction. It seems that the quality here is indeed much higher than the trade fair in Kenyan City. Haha, of course, Lu Xuanlong chuckled and said in a low voice. For our riding nation, the Langkang Mountain auction is definitely one of the best large-scale events. Especially in recent decades, there have been powerful forces and foundation building realm experts from several countries in the surrounding area. They were all attracted too. So the grade here is definitely much higher than the auctions in most places. After saying this, he looked towards the foundation building experts not far away. Whispered, those are Fairy Fang from the Taixia sect, and Master Zheng Lei from the Double Sword sect. Master Lei Hongtian, the ancestor of the Lei family, and those over there, that one is Master Haifeng, the ancestor of the Black Wind Pavilion, Long Xing Master Long Yun will do it. These are all famous figures in our cycling country. It is indeed the Langkang Mountain auction. If it were normal times, how could we see so many foundation building realm experts? It can be seen that Lu Xuanlong is very emotional at this time. Because the Qi training realm veterans at their level really know the foundation building realm that seems so close yet so far away. Full of longing and longing. There is also great expectation in my heart. Everyone knows, the world of cultivation is progressing step by step. It's the difference between heaven and earth that is elusive but elusive. That feeling really made him feel a little complicated, and he was particularly emotional. Let's go, stop talking about this, the auction is about to start, let's go in. At this time, Li Wenhua's voice came from the side. Yes, let's go in. Lu Xuanlong nodded, and then walked directly towards Langkang Shanren's mansion. Not long after, they had already arrived. Above the gate of the mansion in front of me, there were 3 big characters with flying dragons and phoenixes, Langkang Mansion. And besides the main entrance, this gate also has several entrances. Everyone is guarded. In other words, it is responsible for verification and inspection. At the same time, 5 sparkling golden roads extended from the entrance to the interior of the mansion, where the Langkang Mountain auction was located. But just as they were about to go in the sky behind. But suddenly there was a series of extremely majestic and roaring sonic booms. Rumble, boom, boom, this is. For a moment, Lu Lin, Li Wenhua, Lu Xuanlong, and others couldn't help but look behind them, but then, their eyes couldn't help but quickly shrink in surprise. Then, is that a flying magic weapon? Lu Xuanlong said in surprise, as if he was very envious. In the sky, there was actually a gray-white flying cloud car, flying towards the sky at an extremely fast speed. Then he quickly arrived at the open space outside Langkang Mansion. Flying magic weapon, Lu Lin murmured. This was the first time he had seen such a thing. So it's still a bit unfamiliar. But others didn't notice anything strange about him. That's right, Lu Xuanlong nodded with envy and whispered. This should be a flying magic weapon among the foundation building magic weapons. It can be specially used for long-term travel. The flying speed is extremely fast, even far faster than ordinary foundation building powerhouses. However, this kind of thing is very difficult to make and its value is extremely high. Therefore, even many foundation building experts cannot afford it. Flying magic weapon. This should only be qualified by a very small number of big forces. Have something like this. Yeah, Lu Lin murmured. His eyes also shone a little as he murmured. Then this seems to be a good thing. So far, all his methods of traveling have been by foot. Or a carriage. Anyway, you are either working hard on yourself, or you are slow. Will not work, but if he could also have such a flying magic weapon. That will be different, faster than a foundation building expert. Doesn't that mean you can rush and escape for your life? It's simply the best of both worlds. It seems that Lu Xiaoyu is very interested in this foundation building flying magic weapon. At this moment, a soft female voice came, but Li Wenhua, Lu Xuanlong, and Lu Lin. The 3 of them were stunned for a moment. Then Lu Lin's eyes changed. He looked in the direction of the sound. Then his eyes became solemn, because the person speaking to him not far away was none other than the elder of the Golden Silkworm Society who he had met once before, Yun Junjun. Lu Lin couldn't help but pursed his lips. I feel a little nervous inside. But he still didn't show it too much. He just bowed his hands towards the other party in a very ordinary way. Said softly, it turns out to be Senior Yun. What a coincidence. Are you here too? Ha ha. Yun Junjun smiled and said softly. The Langkang Mountain Auction also has a contribution from our Golden Silkworm Association, so of course I will be here. But you, Lu Xiaoyu, you are here too. If you are interested in this foundation building flying magic weapon, you might as well take a good look at it later. Maybe you will get some unexpected gains. After saying this, he winked at Lu Lin. In this regard, Lu Lin also understood immediately. Doesn't this just tell him that he can buy the flying magic weapon later? But the more this happened, the more uncomfortable he felt, and his heart even sank. Because he felt like the other party was targeting him. Otherwise, how could a powerful foundation building expert from the Golden Silkworm Society be so interested in the Zochin of Qi training realm? To put it bluntly, it is still the same sentence, wealth should not be revealed in vain. And now, he seems to be in some trouble. But the more this happens, the less he can show weakness. So he grinned and said with a smile. Thank you, Senior Yun, for reminding me. If this is the case, I really need to take a closer look. To tell you the truth, I am indeed somewhat interested in this thing. Hee. Yun Junjun smiled softly, and then walked past Lu Lin and the others. If that's the case, I won't disturb you little friend Lu too much. See you next time. Having said this, she then greeted the group of people who got off the flying magic weapon not far away. And at this time, the expressions of Lu Xuanlong and Li Wenhua. It's also obviously a lot weirder. Lu, brother Lu, was that fairy Yun Junjun, the foundation building powerhouse of the Golden Silkworm Association just now. Do you know her? Li Wenhua asked with a solemn expression, and then there seemed to be some fear and timidity. It doesn't count as acquaintance. It's just a one-time relationship. Lu Lin shook his head. Don't say much. But the more this happened, the more serious the faces of Lu Xuanlong and Li Wenhua in front of them became, and the atmosphere solidified. Suddenly Lu Lin glanced at them and guessed. It seems that these two guys don't want to cause trouble. So he simply took the initiative to say it. Brother Lu, Brother Li, I would like to thank you two for this trip, but now that the auction is here, it's hard to disturb you anymore. How about we stop here? Let's split up. As soon as this statement came out, Li Wenhua and Lu Xuanlong immediately seemed to be relieved. He said quickly, okay, so be it. Of course it's best to split up. Brother Lu, we won't disturb you anymore, farewell. After saying that, Li Wenhua pulled Lu Xuanlong and wanted to leave, but at this moment, Lu Xuanlong suddenly gritted his teeth, and then whispered one last word to Lu Lin. Brother Lu, be careful of the Golden Silkworm Society. Then the two of them went straight into the auction without looking back. Be careful about the Golden Silkworm Society, Lu Lin murmured. But then, he could only shake his head and mutter to himself. Having said that, it seems like it's too late now. Then he also walked towards the inside of the auction. On both sides of the door, there were many attendants wearing colorful clothes. They are responsible for receiving every monk who comes. Hello, senior, are you here to participate in the auction? Today's auction has 3 forms. Namely the lobby on the 1st floor, the high-rise on the 2nd floor, and the secret room on the 3rd floor. I don't know which floor do you need tickets for, senior. It seems that Lulin is coming. An attendant immediately greeted him with a smile. Seeing that the other party didn't mention the invitation letter at all, he just saved himself the trouble. Then he said without hesitation, let's go to the secret room on the 3rd floor. The secret room on the 3rd floor. The attendant was stunned for a moment, and then his face was filled with surprise. Say it quickly, senior. No problem, but there are fewer secret rooms on the 3rd floor, so the tickets are more expensive. It requires 10 middle-grade spiritual stones, so what do you think? As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Lin threw 10 middle-grade spiritual stones over and said calmly, take me there. For him, since everything has been exposed, of course there is no need to hide anymore. Be kind to yourself first. Only 10 pieces of middle-grade spiritual stones. It's a piece of cake. Just sprinkle some water. Yes, yes. The attendant suddenly became excited and quickly put away the middle-grade spiritual stone. Then, people around him were surprised, envious, and even peeping, and quickly made a gesture of invitation. Road. Senior, please come with me. Please. Soon, under the leadership of the attendant in front of him, Lu Lin arrived at a secret room at the top of the 3rd floor, the highest point of the entire auction house. I have to say, you really get what you pay for. The secret room in front of you is beautifully built and majestic, especially the large and wide floor-to-ceiling windows in front of you, and the entire auction site at your feet is completely in your sight and in your pocket. More importantly, this feeling gives people a huge sense of inner accomplishment, as if they are high and have everything under their feet. Very cool and comfortable. Krypton gold as a dick. Lu Lin laughed and said. Then he plopped down on the large cork seat at the back. One side collapsed on it. While his eyes flashed, he began to think. Now it seems that that woman must be targeting me. I just don't know what they will do. If she is alone, it will be fine. Maybe I can kill her. To vent my anger. But, with his current strength, if you walk sideways below the middle stage of foundation building, there will definitely be no problem at all. This is also where his confidence lies. So you say you're afraid. He wasn't too scared, just a little nervous. After all, the opponents this time are not those who practiced qi before. Those who are strong in the state of foundation building. It's better to have some strength and some risk. Therefore, he must deal with it carefully. But then again, it's not him who should be worried now, but the other party. After all, with his current strength, if he pretends to be a pig and eats the tiger for his enemies. But it is a real disaster. After all, if this doesn't go well, it is definitely possible that he will be killed. Do you think it's an ant? As a result, he transformed into a prehistoric giant crocodile. You can imagine what this concept is. So he really doesn't need to panic now. Just wait and see what happens. So quickly, the trade fair has officially begun. I saw the high platform in the center of the venue. At this moment, an old man with flowing white hair and wearing a blue-gray robe suddenly appeared. However, the aura of this person's cultivation level is very powerful and terrifying. Because this is a strong man in the middle stage of foundation building. Welcome all the colleagues in the world of immortality. We hereby come to Lao Chen's trade fair. Dear guests, there are old faces and new faces, but this is not important anymore. Rules. I, Lao Chen, will treat everyone equally. The old man paused after saying this. Then he spoke again with a smile. Then let me introduce myself first, Old Man Lang Kang. Welcome everyone. Having said this, he bowed to everyone in front of him. It turned out that he was the master of the Langkang mansion in front of him, and even the entire Langkang mountain territory. The strong man in the middle stage of foundation building, Master Langkang. Although there are many strong people in the foundation building realm coming to participate in the auction this time. But so far, Lu Lin has only seen this one, a genuine mid-stage foundation building powerhouse. It is therefore conceivable that the gold content and intimidating power of Master Lang Kang in front of me. Still very tall, definitely a strong one. At this time, Master Lang Kang spoke again, speaking slowly. Then let's talk about the bidding rules first. As before, this auction only accepts bids for spiritual stones, and they are for medium-grade spiritual stones. Of course, if you don't have enough spiritual stones with you, you can also use other types of treasures. As a mortgage exchange, everyone can rest assured. Quote, this matter will be evaluated by a specialized chamber of commerce. That is, Yun Junjun of the Golden Silkworm Association. Fellow Taoist Yun. I believe that the reputation of the Golden Silkworm Association will be recognized by everyone, right? Haha, so don't worry about this. In short, the highest bidder will get the auction item. After hearing this, Lu Lin noticed. On one side of the auction platform at his feet, there were actually some people sitting there alone, about 4 or 5. And the leader among them is Yun Junjun. Okay, apart from these, there seems to be nothing else to say, so I won't talk nonsense and let's get started. This Langkang Mountain auction starts now, and the first auction item is next. Huajing Sword. This is a top-notch magic weapon in the Qi training realm, and its power is even powerful enough to compare with the early stage of foundation building. So this is a very rare half-step foundation building magic weapon. Finally, the first auction item appeared. And this is actually a top-quality magic weapon that is comparable to the early stage of foundation building. In other words, this is actually a type of purple sun thunder fire shield. Is it so valuable? Lu Lin was suddenly a little surprised. As expected of the Langkang Mountain auction, this level is really good. He murmured. Then I was even more looking forward to the auction in front of me. He has plenty of money. So he just needs to buy. Just when he was stunned, the first treasure in front of him had already been pocketed by someone in the hall on the first floor. The final bidding price was also astonishing. Astonishingly, it has reached 6 middle-grade spiritual stones. You must know that when Lu Lin purchased the Purple Sun Thunder Fire Shield, it was only 200,000 low-grade spiritual stones. What about now? It actually tripled. It's really a huge profit. Then the second one. The third item. The fourth item. I don't know if it's a coincidence or intentional. The items in this batch of auctions all seem to be of the highest quality. Although Lu Lin was enthusiastic about this, he had no desire to take action. After all, for him, with the Purple Sun Thunder Fire Shield, there is nothing else he needs, and more importantly, even if it is the Purple Sun Thunder Flame Barrier to him now, it is already on the verge of being eliminated. So these so-called half-step foundation building instruments that are similar to the Ziyang Thunder Fire Barrier, of course, have nothing to say. He doesn't need it anymore. Probably another hour passed like this. When all the bids have reached the 11th item. Finally, things are different. Ahem. I saw Master Langkang clearing his throat slightly. Then he spoke again and said with a smile. Everyone, what comes next is different from before, especially if you are a fellow Taoist who is pursuing the talisman. Then you can cheer up and listen carefully. The 11th item to be auctioned next is called Hunra Spirit Talisman. I think you all still have some impressions of that behemoth in North Korea, the Hunra Talisman sect. Duan Xie, the supreme ancestor of the Xuanluo Fu sect, is the genuine ancestor of the golden elixir. The talisman of the Xuanluo Fu sect is even more unique. It can be said that it is a well-known existence north of our Kango, but it is a pity that later. Speaking of which, Master Langkang shook his head. The conversation changed. Forget it, let's not talk about this, let's talk about the key points. The book, Xuanluo Spirit Talisman, in my hand now is exactly the Zongzong cultivation technique of Xuanluo Talisman sect. It records a large amount of understanding of the Tao of Talisman, and knowledge. It can be said to be all-encompassing and of infinite value. But one problem is that this, Xuanluo Spirit Talisman, is incomplete. At this point he paused. Then he glanced at everyone before continuing to speak. This, Zon Luo Ling Talisman, currently only has content about the realm of Qi training, and it belongs to the Qi training chapter. But even so, this is Zon Luo Ling Talisman, after all. This book is for those who are new to talismans, or want to delve into it. For fellow Taoists, definitely a great place to start. Then next, the Qi training chapter of Xuanluo Spirit Talisman. The bidding price starts at 5 medium-grade spiritual stones. Start now. Although the introduction by Master Langkang is very colorful and detailed, it is a pity that the responder was, after all, to put it bluntly, this is just an introductory talisman technique for Qi training. How could it be worth 5 middle-grade spiritual stones and a full 500,000 low-grade spiritual stones? Maybe only a fool would do this. But at this moment, a voice came. $5. Many people in the hall were stunned for a moment. Then he raised his head and looked in the direction of the 3rd floor, with different expressions on his face. Of course they know that it is definitely not easy for someone to go to the 3rd floor. But the problem is that someone who can go to the 3rd floor is actually willing to spend 5 middle-grade spiritual stones to buy this thing. What do you think? They really can't figure it out. Once, twice, 3 times. Okay, then congratulations to this fellow Taoist. This, Xuanluo Spirit Talisman, belongs to you. Master Langkang smiled with satisfaction, and then began to introduce the next bidding item. And at the same time, this, Zon Luo Ling Talisman, was also transported by internal personnel to the 3rd floor and came to Lu Lin's secret room. That's right, the person who became a monk was none other than Lu Lin. In fact, he also knows that when it comes to price, 5 pieces of mid-grade spiritual stones must be much more expensive, but to him, it must be worth thousands. Because he has long wanted to learn a talisman. Do not forget, he has the ability to copy heavenly materials and earthly treasures. And the raw materials for making the talisman. It is no exaggeration to say that 9 times out of 10, they are all treasures of heaven and earth. In other words, after rounding off, he can roughly equal that he can copy all kinds of talismans infinitely. Just like alchemy pills. So I definitely have to buy this. Later, he took drugs with his left hand and threw charms with his right hand, bombarding him indiscriminately. Direct fire suppression. That scene couldn't be more beautiful. You must know that gunfire is definitely the ultimate romance for men. In the same way, the talisman cleanses the floor as well. Eat a lot and be full. However, Lu Lin didn't know yet at this time. Just when he happily bought the Xuanluo Spirit Talisman, in another place inside the auction, there was also a scene like this happening among some people. Zhang Yuan, is that guy on the 3rd floor? Elder Wu from the Blood Spirit sect narrowed his eyes and asked. Yes, according to the news from Jinkanwei, that boy is on the 3rd floor now, and he is still alone. I have to say that this kid is really rich. What can he do with 10 yuan of tickets for middle-grade spiritual stones? He actually went up there without blinking. Haha, it's really interesting. Zhang Yuan said with a sneer on his face. There is also some greed deep in the eyes. You know, since they have decided to take action now. So obviously, Lu Lin's bag is getting bigger and bigger. The richer the better. Isn't this just right? Anyway, those things he owns will belong to us. Naturally, the more the better. Ha ha ha. Zhang Yuan, keep an eye on him. Wait until the auction is over. Get rid of him immediately. Don't let others get there first, do you understand? Quote. Elder Wu also sneered, said greedily, don't worry, Elder Wu. He's just a piece of garbage in the realm of chi training. He can't escape from our hands, ha ha ha. Zhang Yuan laughed, full of confidence. For him, this is indeed not difficult. After all, who doesn't know the gap between great realms? It is absolutely a world of difference. He can even kill a mere piece of garbage in the realm of chi training with one hand. Therefore, Lu Lin could not escape from his grasp. This is no longer a matter of suspense. Oh, by the way, Elder Wu, Wuji sect and others. Then he asked again. What it means above is, let nature take its course. Elder Wu shook his head and said, let nature take its course. What do you mean? Zhang Yuan said in surprise. Didn't you see? Just in case, that old guy from Wuji sect, and Yixuan, even came in person. As a powerful person in the late stage of foundation building, his strength is still very powerful. Now the thoughts and energy of the higher-ups are on Qingyan Bay, so let's forget it first. We just need to sell the news. As for whether other people will take action, it depends on themselves. Our blood spirit sect should not interfere in this matter. Elder Wu explained and then stopped talking. And at the same time, the lively auction is still going on. As the bidding items continue to be snatched away by people, the grade of the auction items in the entire auction has begun to get higher and higher, and has even completely moved towards the development of the foundation building realm. Everyone should be very interested in the next auction item, because it is a foundation building magic weapon. As Master Lenkang spoke with a smile, the atmosphere of the entire auction suddenly became a lot more heated and tense, because this is the first foundation building realm foundation building magical artifact that has appeared in this auction. And it's no exaggeration to say, many people should come here specifically for it. At this moment, there was a buzzing sound, and huge spiritual energy fluctuations suddenly filled the entire auction site. At the same time, I saw a tray in front of Master Lenkang, with a gleaming meteor hammer full of spikes on it. This object is called the Wolf Fang Hammer, and it is an offensive foundation building magic weapon. At the same time, its raw material is the core Wolf Fang of a foundation building level demon. Its power is no exaggeration. Even we and other mid-stage foundation building monks would not dare to confront it head-on, so I shouldn't need to say anything more about the value of this thing, right? Then let's start directly. The bidding price for this foundation building magic weapon starts from 100 middle-grade spiritual stones. Each increase in price must not be less than 10 middle-grade spiritual stones. Speaking of this, Master Lang Kang suddenly changed the subject. Then he smiled half-heartedly and said, also, as a reminder, in this auction, all the foundation building magic weapons are totaled, and there are only 4 pieces. So I advise everyone to seize the opportunity. If you like it, take action as soon as possible. Otherwise, it will be too late to regret it. Boom. As soon as this statement came out, suddenly it was like a dynamite keg was lit. 130. I'll pay you 150. 200. 202. Soon, the price skyrocketed. Obviously, this foundation building magic weapon is still very attractive. You must know that the foundation establishment magic weapon. The foundation establishment magic weapon, as the name suggests, is definitely a complete foundation establishment realm weapon. Once you can get it, it will not be 1 + 1 = 2, it will be that simple. Even if it is just a monk in the early stage of foundation building, after getting a foundation building magic weapon, his strength will immediately increase dramatically. Comparable to a strong person in the middle stage of foundation building. So this is definitely an improvement in hard power. Great value. So, let alone anyone else. Even Lu Lin is a little excited now. Should I buy one and try it too? Lu Lin murmured, but he was also a little confused because he didn't know whether he could use the foundation building magic weapon now. Moreover, the requirements for using the foundation building magic weapon should also be different from those in the chi training realm. More importantly, he has also heard a saying before, that is, the most important difference between foundation building magic weapons and other ordinary magic weapons, as well as the best magic weapons, is the control of divine consciousness. Ordinary magic weapon, top quality magic weapon. All this requires a simple practice of chi realm dispelling object technique. But the foundation building magic weapon doesn't work. This thing requires the power of spiritual consciousness to control it, and this is the biggest problem. He is only in the realm of chi training, so he doesn't have the power of spiritual consciousness at all yet. So he shook his head and murmured, "Forget it, let's take a look first. And this thing doesn't suit me very well either. If there is something else that suits me better later, let's talk about it." At the same time, the price of this foundation building magic weapon mace. The looting has already reached an astonishing level. 560 pieces of medium-grade spirit stones. A guy wearing a large brown robe, and who was obviously a strong man in the foundation building realm, gritted his teeth and shouted out the price. Obviously, this should be his limit. However, the reality is not perfect. 600. A faint voice came from somewhere on the second floor. Directly kill the whole situation. With the final word, it seemed that no one could compete with him. 600 pieces of middle-grade spiritual stones are equivalent to 7 to 8 million low-grade spiritual stones. This is absolutely an astronomical number, even for the vast majority of foundation building experts. They can only look forward to it and sigh. Seeing no one to continue, Master Lenkang smiled, then looked at somewhere on the second floor, and said with a smile, "I didn't expect that Brother Chen is here. Congratulations, this mace is yours." Obviously, Master Lenkang seems to know the other person. "Old Lenkang, I have to say that the things you have here are really expensive. If I hadn't been well prepared this time, I would have overturned." A rough voice came, and a strong middle-aged man wearing coarse cloth and animal skins stood up and said coldly. "More importantly, this seems to be a mid-stage foundation establishment. It turns out to be Chen Xian, the ancestor of the Chen family. He is a strong man in the middle stage of foundation building." No wonder. Someone seemed to recognize the other person. Surprised. "Brother Chen, what you said is wrong. If you add a mace to your strength, it will definitely be even more powerful. I am afraid that even I will not be your opponent. This is not a gap that a few hundred middle-grade spiritual stones can make up for. Isn't it?" "Ha." Master Lenkang smiled and said. Then the next round of bidding started. And next, it's not a foundation building magic weapon anymore, but the treasures of heaven and earth. The silver frost secret flower, a treasure of foundation building realm. This is a very rare treasure of ice. It is said that it seems to be one of the raw materials for the ice spirit pill. The bidding price is not high. It only costs 10 pieces of medium-grade spirit stone. Start now. As soon as this scene appeared, Lu Lin suddenly became energetic. Elixir material. Although he didn't recognize this thing, since he was here. It must be the principle that you can buy by mistake and don't miss it. It turns out that he is not short of money either. So he directly shouted out a top price. 50. In an instant, everyone fell silent. 50 pieces of middle-grade spiritual stones. Are you serious? But when everyone sees it. When the bidder came from the third floor, but he kept silent, because this is the most intuitive sense of cliff brought about by different floors, or different levels of wealth. And a sense of oppression. They have no money and are reluctant to part with it, but others have it. After all, it must be the third floor. Soon, no one followed the price. This secret silver frost flower was successfully collected by Lu Lin. And then, it seemed that he had arrived at Lu Lin's home court, with the appearance of one treasure after another, and many of the elixir materials were forcefully bought by him. Got it in the bag. Again. Anyway, everything was exposed, and he didn't bother to worry about it. If you buy something, buy more. In short, the main thing is to be prepared and not short of money. After so and so, time also began to pass quickly. Soon it was more than a day later. After more than a day of fierce fighting, his consumption has also successfully reached several thousand mid-grade spiritual stones. He has collected a large number of natural treasures, alchemy materials, and things he is interested in. It can be said that he has really gained a lot from this Lenkang Mountain auction. It directly fills the pockets. The drums are very good. Then, do you want to leave? Lu Lin had some thoughts of leaving. For him, he has bought everything he needs to buy, so staying a little longer will be an extra risk. After all, he went too far this time. He made too many moves and spent too much money. I am afraid he has already become a target in front of everyone. The focus is on this. It's a huge style, so it's definitely right to run early, before the auction is over and those people haven't reacted. But at this moment, suddenly, Master Lenkang's narration came to his ears. Everyone, please listen carefully to what is coming next. This is definitely one of the highlights of this auction, because this is a flying magic weapon. Flying magic weapon. In a split second, Lu Lin's footsteps seemed to have been cast on a body-fixing technique. I stopped for a moment and couldn't move forward. His eyes looked towards the auction house outside the window. There, in front of the Lenkang mountain people, there was a fist-sized flying car. Although this object was slightly different from what he had seen before, its outward appearance was different. But it's obviously the same thing. That is the flying magic weapon of the foundation building realm. This is a foundation building speedster. As for the thing, it's very simple. It's the Yunlin speeder produced by the behemoth Haoran sect in the north. It's a relatively top-notch foundation building speeder. There's nothing else to say, so let's just get started. Master Lenkang smiled and said. Then he changed the subject and said proudly, everyone, if you miss this thing, it really doesn't exist anymore. If you are interested, then be ready, haha, next. Quote. The starting price is 100 medium-grade spiritual stones. Let's start immediately. 100 middle-grade spiritual stones. In an instant, the price tripled. 300, 300, 500, I want this Yunlin speedster. 500, you're dreaming. 1,000, 1,000 middle-grade spiritual stones, are you crazy? 1,002. 1,005. In an instant, the price went crazy. From 100 to 1,500, a full 15 times difference, but it only took less than 10 seconds. This was completely crazy. But having said that, there are still too many crazy people at this time. You must know that there are still too few and rare things like flying magic weapons, and for example, if the foundation building magic weapon is just needed, this thing is a bit like a luxury item. Although the price-performance ratio is relatively low, but I really can't resist the huge appeal. Once this kind of thing is displayed, it is completely a symbol of status and strength. For many people, this is the goal of the robbery. So quickly, the price even soared to over 2,000. At this time, there were fewer bidders, only 2 or 3. After all, everyone's strategies are very simple. Just be clear, just fill up the price directly. Then the highest bidder gets it. At this time, Lu Lin thought for a long time. Finally gritted his teeth. The bids have also started. He can endure the rest. But he doesn't want to tolerate this, he wants. 2004. Why is it him? In a certain room on the 3rd floor, a tall and thin man said angrily. Although he didn't know who the other party was, the other party's arrogant performance over the past day or so, it has already made many people remember each other's voice firmly. Among them, including himself. Senior Brother Wei, who is this person? In the previous auction, he took away at least 3 to 4,000 mid-grade spiritual stones. Now he actually wants to compete for Yunlin Speedster. He really has so many spiritual stones. Another man in black robes in the room couldn't help but ask. His face looked a little ugly. You ask me who he is. How do I know? Senior Brother Wei, a tall and lanky man, turned dark and said coldly. Lin Feng, our mission this time is a death order. We must take back this flying magic weapon, the Yunlin speeder. Forget it, let's fight. I don't believe he still has so many spiritual stones to fight with us. Lin Feng, go mortgage our things. I will continue to compete with him. Then he quickly called out the price. 2,500 middle-grade spiritual stones. 2006, 2007, 2008. Soon, it seemed that only 2 companies were left in the venue to bid wildly, and the price had already skyrocketed, actually soaring to more than 3,500 mid-grade spiritual stones. It is no exaggeration to say. This is simply unbelievable. Even if this is a flying magic weapon. But the price is still too outrageous. This is crazy. Senior Brother Wei, do we still want to follow? We have no money and can't follow. Lin Feng said anxiously. Senior Brother Wei, a tall and thin man, was also so angry that his eyes were red, and his whole body was shaking. 3,005. This price is at least 1/3 beyond their budget. Under normal circumstances, they would never have been able to keep up with this price. But now he's on top. I just have no money. What can the superiors do? It's no use at all. Then, I saw his face changing, looking a little ugly, even ferocious. Then, he took another deep look at the youngline speedster at the auction. Then he snorted coldly. Leng said, "Okay, very good, Lin Feng, let's go." "Senior brother Wei, where are we going?" "Go to the Jinkanwei to buy information. Don't let me know who he is. I just want to see who is so arrogant. It seems that he knows. The Golden Silkworm Club will sell everything, including the identity information on the third floor of the auction at this time. If the other party can't afford it, forget it, but if there is a chance. Ha. Then we will wait and see." At the same time, Lu Lin also breathed a sigh of relief. Finally done. Tisk, 3,500 pieces of middle-grade spiritual stones. I don't know who is going crazy with me. But if this is the case, I have to leave quickly. Run away. After a while, the staff came with Yunline speed to deliver the goods. After paying the money and getting the items, Lu Lin also quickly left this place, ready to run away. However, it was not much different from what he expected. Real trouble. It has just begun. Elder Wu, that kid ran away. I'm going over too. Go, remember to stay far away before doing anything. Don't let anyone find out. Don't worry, I know what to do. Senior brother Wei, I bought the news, but what? Say it quickly. That guy seems to be just a master of the Qi training realm. Lian, Qi Lian Zouchen. Where is he? Leave quickly. I'm going to kill him. He seems to have run away. Go faster, chase him quickly. Kill him, everything will be ours. Leaving Langkang Mountain, Lu Lin immediately moved away from Kenyan City in the opposite direction, but it seemed that he had not gone far before he discovered that there seemed to be a lot of rats following behind him, covertly. I knew this was just the beginning. Lu Lin murmured in his heart. At the same time, in his eyes, a cold light had already passed by and he sneered. Then let's have a good time. Young horse rider, do you really think I have no temper? At the same time, more and more of the guys following Lu Lin, they even revealed their traces and intentions of action unscrupulously. Big brother, he's the only one. Why don't we do something? This kid is only at the great perfection of Qi training. There are so many of us, if we kill him, all the treasures and wealth on him will be ours. This is a middle-aged man dressed in blue linen. He said with greed on his face. At the same time, his body also exudes quite powerful spiritual energy fluctuations. If you look closely, you will see that this is a Zouchen master who has reached the 12th level of Qi training. And not only that, except for himself, he even has several other companions with him. And the strength of these people is not weak, almost all of them are at the 11th level. Even the 12 heavenly perfections. In this way, even if their combination is not as good as those real foundation building experts, it is definitely not far behind. This is also a typical case of quantity leading to qualitative change. And it can actually be seen from this. There are always many brave people. Therefore, people who go to the Golden Silkworm Society to buy Lulin intelligence information. It's definitely not just the tall and thin man's family. In fact, the temptation of huge wealth, the Jinshan silver mine is right in front of you. Many people cannot resist such temptation. So many of them chose to take risks. They all went to the Golden Silkworm Association to buy news. However, I'm afraid even they themselves didn't think of it. The fact, is this actually the case? It is no exaggeration to say. At the beginning of, almost all of them take it for granted. The opponent must be a strong person in the foundation building realm. For example, in the early stage of foundation building, in the middle stage of foundation building. Even the more powerful and powerful later stage of foundation building. These are possible, but if it's the latter, they can only pinch their noses and admit defeat, which is equivalent to throwing the money they paid for intelligence information into the water. But the result was a slap in the face. No one expected it. Lu Lin is actually just a monk in the realm of Qi training. This immediately triggered the fanaticism in their hearts, or the devil. The crazy gambler mentality makes them know that the other party is most likely to be a powerful being that they cannot afford to offend. After all, if you can get such a huge wealth, how could it be so weak? That's almost impossible. But they still chose to gamble on stud. I just didn't expect it. They actually won the bet. That's why the scale of this matter evolved into what it is now. Many people didn't even think about coming in the first place. But now, they are all here. Wait a minute. Next to the middle-aged man in blue coarse linen, another white-haired old man with perfect chi training strength shook his head. He said with a solemn expression, "Don't you see, there are too many people coming. There are several chi training monks like us. More than 10. Not to mention the other foundation building experts who are still hiding in the dark. Whoever dares to act rashly now is the one who stands out. This is a life-threatening matter. We must not be so stupid. Listen, please wait first." No, shut up. Maybe it's because of the constraints brought by the large number of people. Although their movements at this time are becoming more and more obvious, or they are becoming arrogant. They even formed an encirclement intentionally, forming an angle or even a semicircle. Surround Lulin and get closer. But the one who beats the first bird is the first one. But still no one dared to go. But there is still no such person. Dare to be the first to start a group. And in this case, Lulin couldn't wait any longer. "Okay, since you don't come, then let me do it," Lulin murmured. At the same time, a cold light suddenly flashed in his eyes. Killing intent swept out instantly. There is murderous intent permeating the air. Boom. Then he turned the gun head and rushed towards the people behind him. At the same time, his right hand quickly moved across the storage bag. The next moment, the purple sun thunder fire shield instantly appeared in his hand. No, he's going to take action. Come together and kill him. Seeing Lulin coming to fight back, everyone's expression suddenly changed, but they also immediately became excited. Because isn't this the moment they have been waiting for? If they kill him, kill Lulin, wouldn't the overwhelming wealth on him, the astonishing huge wealth, belong to them? Superior. An old man with sideburns rushed forward immediately. He held a full moon saber in his hand, and a strong shock wave of the best magic weapon erupted. He threw it out, and the full moon saber suddenly turned into a ray of rainbow. Kill at Lulin quickly. Snort. Lulin snorted coldly. In an instant, he controlled the purple sun thunder flame barrier to hit the front, and collided with the Yuan saber. With a muffled bang, the latter exploded in an instant, and was actually destroyed on the spot. What? The old man with sideburns shrank his pupils. His face changed drastically. However, he was about to fight back and do other things, but it was already too late. Boom, boom, boom. The huge power of thunder and fire came like a stormy wave, and it was so fast that in just a moment, it was swept away and submerged, and it was incinerated in an instant. Lightning strikes. Burnt into coke. In just one round, this guy who had reached the great perfection of chi training realm was killed directly, tragically in an instant. Half-step foundation building magic weapon. People's faces suddenly changed. His face was very ugly. Because they are only monks in the realm of chi training, and this half-step foundation building magic weapon is an extremely terrifying dimension-reducing blow to them. If none of them can escape, the probability of death is too high. But they did not lose confidence. After all, this is just the beginning. Kill him, let's go together. He is only one person. Even a half-step foundation building magic weapon is useless. He is dead today. The middle-aged man in blue coarse linen clothes suddenly roared. Then he rushed over with a greedy face. At the same time, he threw his hands away. Call out, call out, call out, call out. Several sparkling blue and white formation flags flew out directly, turning into a large formation in the air and pressing down. It was as if the top of Mount High hit the willow forest. At the same time, others quickly followed suit. Boom, boom, boom. Almost at the same time, a total of 4 or 5 attacks came from different directions. The best magical weapons, magical powers, or talisman arrays, flags, etc. These attacks immediately blocked all areas in all directions of Lulin. In other words, this attack can be said to be full of firepower, a complete all-round bombing. Very amazing. But even so, faced with all this, at this time in Lulin. But there was still some murmuring in my heart. So weak. That's right, to him, these attacks are really weak. These offensive attacks in front of us, although they have indeed reached the pinnacle of chi training. But for him now, it is still too weak. and it may not even be able to break the skin of his 5-dragon spiritual shield. You can imagine what this concept is. But even so, he still knew. These people in front of me, they are just idiots who are blinded by desire. So how good are they expected to be? Of course it's not realistic. But at this moment, sudden changes occur. Suddenly, a flying dragon struck in the distance. With a hiss. The speed seemed to be extremely fast. Boom. Then I saw a creature that looked like a giant python. It was 20 or 30 meters long, but was very slender, like a long rope. The object first struck quickly, and then immediately accelerated out of thin air, and its speed skyrocketed. Suddenly he hit Lu Lin's body. But instead of knocking it away, it instantly twisted around and turned into a brilliant snake-headed long rope, which exploded instantly and tied up Lu Lin. Locked in place. Lu Lin was stunned for a moment. His face changed slightly. Because this is actually a special treasure at the level of a half-step foundation building instrument. This is actually a rope that can be used to tie people up. Here you go. As soon as this scene occurs, everyone suddenly became excited, as if they had a chance to win. Victory is in sight. Do it. Don't be stunned. Kill him. More people shouted. Then he launched an attack on Lu Lin with excitement and greed. It seems that he wants to kill Lu Lin in one wave. Just at this moment, a shocking scene appeared. Lu Lin, who was supposed to be tied up tightly and unable to move, was actually outside the skin of his body. Layers of colorful vortex spiritual power suddenly appeared. This is the power of the 5-dragon spiritual shield. Big. Lu Lin faintly uttered one word, and there was a loud rumble. The 5-dragon spiritual shields instantly surged. In a split second, the snake-headed rope outside the body was opened. Then Lu Lin stretched out his hand and grabbed it. Immediately he caught the snake-head rope in his hand. Then he laughed. Good luck. This rope is a good thing. Although his current actual combat effectiveness is very strong, it is limited to offense and defense. Anything else is almost his weakness. So for him, this rope that can tie people up, it is indeed a good baby. Just imagine. First, tie up the opponent, and then use the 5 dragons to kill each other. Isn't it accurate to kill one at a time? Even those who are strong in the early stage of foundation building will find it difficult to escape this combination attack. After all, don't forget that this thing is not a top-level magic weapon, but a half-step foundation building magic weapon. Even for those who are strong in the early stages of foundation building, it works just as well. However, having said that, this object is still unable to bind the power of the 5-dragon spiritual shield at all. One can imagine how high the actual power level of the 5-dragon spiritual shield is. However, the appearance of this scene also frightened everyone, and their expressions changed greatly. How is it possible? They were all shocked, trembling all over, and their faces were a little frightened and pale. Because they are not fools. They all realized something was wrong. Boom. At the same time, their joint attacks had already landed on Lu Lin's side. They all exploded with wild bombardment. In an instant, huge waves surged into the sky, and shock waves shot out in all directions. It was like a mushroom cloud appeared. Boom. Did you make it? Everyone is staring there. They were all nervous, sweating profusely, and their hearts were in their throats. But at this moment, suddenly a bolt of lightning struck. Boom. It turned out that the Ziyang Thunder Fire Barrier turned into a bolt of lightning and struck. Boom. 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 In an instant, thunder roared, purple lightning and silver snakes danced wildly, and the huge power of thunder and fire swept across, immediately piercing through the Qi training realm in front of me. It was directly obliterated to death. At the same time, I saw the purple sun thunder flame barrier appearing in the sky, turning around, and then it was so powerful that it was so powerful, falling as fiercely as thunder. He immediately grabbed the 2 unlucky guys on the ground who had no time to escape. Boom. 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 The next second, the power of thunder and fire soared into the sky. 2 of the guys were also instantly killed. They simply cannot withstand the terrifying attack of Ziyang Thunder Fire Barrier. This also made everyone completely frightened and horrified. Their faces were pale, as if it was the end of the world, and there was no trace of blood on their faces. My whole body was shaking, and I felt panic and fear from the bottom of my heart. This scene, it's really terrible. Run. The next moment, Some people finally can't bear the pressure anymore. I don't want any gold mines or mines that will bring me wealth and wealth. They all turned and ran, rolling and crawling. It seems that he only hates his parents for not giving him more legs. And this move is like hitting a domino. In an instant, all those guys in the chi training realm ran away. They all ran away like crazy, running for their lives. Are you running away now? Watching them running away, Lu Lin couldn't help but curled his lips, but didn't chase them. After all, this is not the main course. He knows very well that his real enemies are still watching him around here. Aren't you coming out yet? What are you waiting for? If you don't come out again, am I leaving? He glanced around and said calmly. The surroundings were silent at first, but after a moment, someone appeared. As expected, those garbage in the chi training realm are no match for you at all. Your aura power is very strange. A solemn voice appeared. The tall and lanky man from the previous auction, Senior Brother Wei, appeared, and there was another person beside him, and that was his junior brother Lin Feng. What's more important is that these two people are actually strong in the early stage of foundation building. In the early stages of foundation building, compared with the previous chi training guys, this is a world of difference. Boy, I don't want anything else. Give us the Yunlin Speedster, and my junior brother, and I will leave now. At this moment, the tall and thin man, Senior Brother Wei, suddenly said. Are you talking to me? Lu Lin glanced at him and said lightly. Why should I give it to you? Who do you think you are? Also, didn't anyone tell you that before talking to others, you should introduce yourself and your family name? Who are you? Can you tell me now? You, the tall and lanky man, Senior Brother Wei, suddenly stiffened. He seemed a little angry, and the corners of his eyes twitched. He stared at Lu Lin fiercely, but he still didn't turn his face immediately, but fell silent. At this time, another voice came. Brother Wei, what's the point of just having Yunlin speedy car? Aren't you still afraid of a guy who is just a chi practitioner? If you kill him, won't all his things belong to us? So, why waste this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? A dark corner in another direction. A young man with white hair walked out slowly. He looked a little thin, and his clothes were tight-fitting and short, so even his wrists and ankles were exposed. Two spiked rings hung around his waist, shining brightly and connected to each other, as if they could be integrated into one body. Obviously, this should be a set of combined treasures. Of course, what's more important is his cultivation level strength. There is no doubt that this is also a strong man in the early stages of foundation building. And he looks young. Is it you, Bai Ziyu? Senior Brother Wei, a tall and lanky man, glanced at him. His face was cloudy and uncertain. That's right, and it's not just me. Bai Ziyu sneered. Then he looked in two different directions in the distance. Road, you two, Brother Zhang, Brother Yang, do you still want to hide? I think we can be together, right? How rich is this kid? We have all seen it and we all know it. As long as we take action to capture him, even if the five of us share it equally. It's completely enough. If Brother Wei wants Yunlin Speedy Car, I only want the Xuanluo Spirit Talisman. There is also 1/5 of the other gains. This should be fair, right? What do you think? After the words fell, a big man with disheveled hair suddenly appeared on a thick and towering tree not far away. He was wearing plush animal skin-like clothes, but his exposed chest, arms, etc. were actually covered with black hair, which was a bit eye-catching, and his body proportions were also strange, with short legs and long hands. Looks like an upright ape. Very ugly and scary. But even so, this is still a strong foundation builder. A genuine early stage of foundation building. In addition, another person has slowly appeared. It was the strong man from the Blood Spirit Gate who was in the early stages of foundation building. Zhang Yuan. In an instant, 5 powerful men gathered here. 5 major foundations. The real killing situation appears here. We'll discuss the division of the spoils later, kill him first and then talk about the rest. The big man Yang said coldly. Then he stared at the willow forest with fierce eyes. It seems as if there is a beast-like ferocity. And after seeing this scene, Lu Lin also narrowed his eyes. Some pressure comes to the fore. 5 early stages of foundation building. This should be the most difficult battle he has faced since his debut. There are 5 powerful people in the early stage of foundation building. The strength of such a lineup is indeed very powerful and amazing. The pressure is huge. But he is not afraid. He is still confident in this battle. Otherwise, he would not take the initiative to stay and fight. Then he squinted his eyes and said, "There is a strong murderous intent in the eyes." Boom. Okay, only 5. It seems that only 5 of you want to die, so. Then come on. I'll solve it all for you. You're all here, what can I do if I don't kill you? Looking for death. Haha. Bai Ziyu sneered, not angry at all. Instead, he fought back and taunted him back. You are right, but will we be the ones seeking death? No, 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 I think. It should be you, right? Little guy. Then you will know if you can try it. Lu Lin sneered, then glanced at everyone, then waved the snakehead rope in his hand and said loudly. Come on, let me see your strength. A bunch of trash. Boy, you are so arrogant, you are seeking death. Senior brother Wei, a tall and lanky man, suddenly became angry. His face darkened, and then he immediately waved his hand and a bell appeared out of thin air. Ding dong turned around, and the strong wind swept instantly, and a huge and shocking wind tornado immediately hit the willow forest, which was more than 10 or 20 feet in size. A roar of wind and fury broke out that destroyed the heaven and earth. Roar, another half-step foundation building magic weapon. Are you so poor? Lu Lin mocked, and immediately bounced back like a spring. At the same time, he flicked the purple sun thunder fire shield, boom. The power of thunder and fire soared into the sky, and it actually turned into a shock wave in the form of a dragon. Kill towards the front, boom, a loud noise erupted. The power of the wind dragon and the thunder and fire collided, creating an astonishing explosion. An astonishing shock wave formed and spread, boom. Rumble, it was as if the earth was shaking. But this attack seems to be somewhat evenly matched. Suddenly the faces of those guys on the other side. There were some sneers. Haha, you want to compete with us with a half-step foundation building magic weapon. What a stupid guy. HMPH. I think you are just a self-righteous frog in the well who doesn't understand anything. If that's the case, then I will help you and die. Fu Dong. Ling Qi. Amnesty. Boom. Bai Ziyu sneered. Immediately, he formed a seal with his hands, and a sparkling talisman flew out of the air in an instant. Then the talisman suddenly burned and turned into a flying bird and flew away. Howl, rushing towards the willow forest. What is this? See the birds coming. Lu Lin was a little surprised. Could this be the power of the talisman? What a magical power. But he also knew that he didn't have time to be distracted at this time. He had to say that although the number of these 5 guys in front of him was far lower than before, they were indeed strong foundation building experts. These guys are obviously much stronger. And its fighting style and type. It's also obviously more diverse. There are no cookie-cutter top-quality magic weapons or ordinary magic weapons. So single. Next, Lu Lin quickly circulated the power of the 5 dragon souls in his body. At the same time, he also burst out some of the power of the 5 dragon spins, concentrated it on his fist, and then punched it out. Boom. In an instant, this fist actually shattered the incoming bird, or was it a spiritual talisman? What? Bai Ziyu was stunned for a moment. His face also looked a little ugly, as if he didn't expect it at all. How could this be possible, breaking his talisman attack with one punch? Isn't he dazzled? And it's not just him. At this time, other people not far away. At this time, their pupils all shrank. His face was filled with shock. This guy's body, is he still an individual cultivator? Although they used to hold a bunch of top-quality magic weapons or talismans and treasures, and bombard them with long-range attacks, in fact, the abilities of cultivators are much more than that. Physical training. This is another major category among the cultivators. In this, the cultivator can greatly strengthen his physical body, thus possessing extremely powerful melee capabilities. For example, melee combat, powerful, both offensive and defensive. Even hand-tearing the best magic weapons, etc. These are all out of the question. Just like now, in his impression, only a strong person like Liang Lai could do it. That's right, although physical training is rare, it is not impossible. For example, Liang Lai among the 5 of them, and the family behind him, the Yang family, are famous physical cultivation families in the neighboring country, Yuanlang Kingdom. His reputation spread far and wide. Roar. The next moment, Yang Lai roared angrily. Next, all the muscles in his body started to change. Roar. Gulu. 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 I saw his body squirming rapidly. In the end, he actually transformed and expanded into a giant demigod werewolf. On his face, the black features were shining, the ferocious wolf head was particularly ferocious, and the eyes were also shining with a dazzling red demonic light. Full of violence. Hiss. Lu Lin took a breath and said in surprise. What is this? A demon. Although he is clearly a human being, he actually transformed into a half-human and half-demon. Although this foundation building expert is indeed far superior to the Qi training realm, this inexplicable method is still too exaggerated, right? Did he actually turn into a monster? Haha, you are an ignorant person. The Yang family's secret technique. How can a wolf-demon transformation be understood by a trash like you who is in the realm of Qi training? Bai Ziyu suddenly became sarcastic. Then said it quickly. Let's all take action together and kill him. Otherwise, things will change if it's too late. After saying that, he danced his hands, and two sparkling talismans flew out in front of him. Then they quickly vibrated in the air, bursting out with amazing power, and swept towards the willow forest. And at the same time, Yang Lai, who had transformed into half-human and half-demon, was already roaring and approaching Lu Lin to kill him. He is fast, but his movements are extremely flexible, and his steps are like a nimble snake. Then he jumped up, claws flying in the air, tearing towards the willow forest. Tear it apart. At that moment, the astonishing demonic energy exploded like a tornado. Crazy shooting. At the same time, his muscles trembled, and powerful demonic energy exploded, actually bringing up invisible winds. Obviously this guy's physical strength is indeed very strong at this time. It can even cause sonic booms, thus forming a strong wind. This is simply invincible. In a split second, two powerful attacks came together. It also made Lu Lin feel a lot of pressure. But next, of course he won't sit still and wait for death. Boom. Lu Lin instantly shot out the purple sun thunder fire shield, and the power of thunder and fire soared into the sky. They collided with the power of the two talismans that were coming again, but this time, the Ziyang thunder fire barrier, which had always been invincible and incomparable in the past, was actually at a disadvantage. Boom. It was like a huge morning bell being rung. Huge sound waves spread overwhelmingly. It looks terrifying, devastating, and devastating. In an instant, the Ziyang thunder flame barrier trembled crazily. A messy explosion broke out. Boom. At the same time, Yang Lai quickly arrived. His speed and acuity of movements don't look like a human being at all, but like a monster with superb physical skills. So fast, like a flash of light. Boom. Next, I saw him tearing it apart with one claw and falling. The power of claws. There was a dazzling cold light, even a surging demonic energy. Raging and turbulent. Coming like the overwhelming weight of Mount Tai. Such an attack is indeed very astonishing, as if it is an overwhelming momentum. Extremely tyrannical. But even so, Lu Lin still didn't give him the slightest chance. Almost immediately, the spiritual power of the 5 dragon souls completely emerged on his arm. Boom. Inspiring by powerful spiritual energy. Then he punched out directly. He directly collided with it. Boom. Another loud roar roared. Once the shocking shock wave spread, destroying the surrounding trees and even boulders. And at the same time, I saw Lu Lin and Yang Lai retreating at the same time. They retreated as if there was no winner. However, at this moment, senior brother Wei, a tall and lanky man in the distance, and his junior brother Lin Feng, both of them quickly took action. Having been famous for many years, as a powerful foundation builder. Such an opportunity to beat the drowned dog. Naturally, it is impossible for them to miss it. Fire Dragon Snake. Go. Senior brother Wei, a tall and lanky man, quickly formed seals. Immediately, the spiritual power was activated, and an extremely powerful magical power burst out instantly. A towering monster like a flaming python appeared out of thin air in an instant. Then it spurted out from in front of him. This is the magical power of the foundation building realm, the fiery dragon snake. Its power is even more powerful than the half-step foundation building magic weapon. All are worse than others. Roar. The next moment, the flying snake shot out, piercing the sky, and it was exceptionally bright and dazzling. The astonishing temperature made the air scorch and twist. At the same time, the flame python descended from the air, biting down into the willow forest. Wherever it goes, the terrifying temperature seems to have become a reality. Under the evaporation at this high temperature, the water vapor rises and makes a deafening sound. Extremely amazing. Then next to him, what looked like a golden pagoda appeared in front of Lin Feng. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Layers of golden halos appeared on the top of the golden pagoda, and then they soared into the air like Buddha hoops, heading towards the willow forest. In this way, even though the two of them attacked one after another, they still attacked Lu Lin almost immediately, one from the left and the other from the right. After seeing this scene, Zhang Yuan in the other direction did not miss this opportunity. Chang. In an instant, the long sword was unsheathed, and a flying sword appeared immediately, but it was a blood-red bone sword like fish scales. In an instant, it shot out across the sky and killed Lu Lin. In an instant, the attacks of the three major foundation building experts once again joined forces. Moreover, Lu Lin was completely surrounded from three different directions, and it was completely blocked. This seems to be a bit troublesome. Lu Lin murmured, his face a little solemn, because although he was confident in his own strength, after all, this was the first time he had seen such a battle scene. Such powerful and amazing three major attacks. He can really resist it. He didn't know, but he still felt a little guilty in his heart. But that's it. I can't think so much anymore. 5 dragon spiritual shields. He shouted lowly. Suddenly the power of the 5 dragon spiritual shields surrounded it, forming a perfect all-round defense. And in this next moment, the same is true of almost all-round bombing attacks. The attacks of those magical powers and magic weapons directly swept it away and drowned it. Then there was a boom. A loud rumbling sound. These attacks, it immediately set off a firestorm. Even small shock wave mushroom cloud air waves. It looks extremely terrifying. It's amazing. It's done. Bai Ziyu sneered, with a face full of jest. He knew that it should be successful. After all, it was a joint attack by 3 powerful men. Even he might not be able to withstand such a combination. So that kid on the other side must die. There is absolutely no hope of survival. Absolutely impossible. But what happened next? But his expression suddenly changed drastically. He even looked horrified and blurted out, "No, it's impossible." How could he be okay? It turns out that when the smoke cleared, Lu Lin, who was jointly attacked by the tall and thin man's senior brother Wei, Lin Feng, and Zhang Yuan, the 3 foundation building experts of the Blood Spirit sect, actually blocked these attacks unharmed. Is it blocked? Lu Lin glanced at the 5 dragon spiritual shield around his body. Although it was somewhat damaged and seemed to be a little tattered, there was no doubt that those attacks were all blocked by the 5 dragon spiritual shield by himself. As expected of the 5 dragon spiritual shield, it is really too strong. This kind of attack was actually blocked. It seems it's stable now. The combined attacks of 3 powerful foundation builders were actually unable to harm him. Isn't this stable? In this case, next, he can even carry the opponent's offense and output. Then kill them directly. After all, don't forget. Now he is not only powerful with the 5 dragon spiritual shield. His 5 dragon spins. It's also awesome. Then it's my turn to fight back. Lu Lin sneered, and then he flashed his body and killed Ouyang Lai, who was the closest person in front of him. Not good. Ouyang Lai reacted quickly and his face changed. But it seems a bit confusing. Run. With his strength and temper, of course he was very reluctant at the time, but... Do you want to fight? Look at the arrogant Lu Lin in front of you. Ouyang Lai's expression suddenly changed. But in the end he gritted his teeth and said. He snorted coldly. Snort. Why are you so arrogant? Am I still afraid of you? In an instant, Ouyang Lai was determined, and then he went straight towards Lu Lin and killed him. Wolf God Claws. But just in case, Ouyang Lai still showed his true skills. The surging demonic energy filled the wolf claws of his right hand, and then suddenly rose up like a volcanic eruption. Then he attacked and tore forward fiercely, and it seemed as if afterimages and demonic lights appeared. But at this moment, Lu Lin sneered a little. What? Still no lesson learned. At the same time, Lu Lin raised his hand, and the power of the 5-dragon spiritual shield appeared instantly, and then pushed it out from front to back like a light shield. In an instant, huge power exploded, boom. He actually pushed Ouyang Lai hard and staggered him backwards. Not good. In an instant, Ouyang Lai's expression changed drastically. I only felt a sense of infinite terror and danger rising in my heart. Because he suddenly realized, he seemed really impulsive. Roar. The next moment, he roared crazily, and the demonic energy in his body began to run out of control like a stormy sea or a volcano erupting. But at this moment, in front of Lu Lin's 5 fingers, which was only a few meters away from him, some colorful air currents like swimming dragons and torrents suddenly appeared out of thin air. Wah! What is that? Just this glance. He suddenly felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave, his whole body started to tremble, his face changed wildly. 5 dragon spins. At this moment, Lu Lin took action, and his killer weapon, the 5 dragon spins, exploded, and the 5-color air flow swept out instantly. Although the speed was not fast, the strange thing was that Ouyang Lai, a physique cultivator in the early stages of foundation building. But it actually seemed like he couldn't move at all. All the strength in my body seemed to be held back. It doesn't take any effort at all. The next moment, the power of the 5 dragon spins came, immediately piercing Ouyang Lai's body, and then spun through the air, cutting him in half on the spot. Cut crosswise into 2 pieces. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.